Good evening. I am going to call the meeting of the Planning Commission for January 10th, 2023 to order at 6 p.m. Stephanie, if you can, if we can go ahead and lead with the flag salute. Commissioner Quill?
Sure.
Thank you. Stephanie, if you can do roll call, please. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. I'll start with Chair Guerrero,
Here.
Commissioner Lopez,
Here.
Commissioner Quill, Commissioner Flores,
Here.
Vice Chair Armstead, Commissioner Lewis,
Present.
and Commissioner Morales.
Here.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia is excused. We have quorum.
Thank you very much. If you could administer the oath, please.
For anybody wishing to speak tonight, could you please stand? Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this body will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. Thank you.
Thank you. If we can go ahead and, assuming there's nothing on closed agenda, closed session? No? Okay, thank you. Public comments for items not on the agenda? Is there anyone wishing to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda? And we have one. Treasurer Ortiz, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Happy New Year. In reviewing the videos of the last couple meetings that I've attended, one thing that I've come up is a common issue is not being able to trust the information that's coming from the city attorney, and being relayed to this commissioned body. And so what I'm asking you guys to do is take your time, because this has to be an informed decision where every question you have needs to be answered. Every policy needs to be looked at, every rock turned over, because what you do affects us for years and years to come. And that has not been a common practice in this city. It is very on the fly as things have changed, and we can't afford to do that anymore. In watching the actions of the city attorney and the city meet with you guys to bring consensus to their desire for a development code, it's not only bordering illegal, as a former city attorney told us, it's also highly unethical. Now, we know ethics runs very short in this city, depending on the administration. But you guys, as our friends and our neighbors, I want to hold you to a higher standard. There's a reason you're here. This development code in number 8, which we'll talk about later, it all ties to the Oxbow and to the downtown demolition of the Carousel Mall. Those are the only two projects that you would even come under the course of this development code. What I ask you to do as a body, don't let the city tell you this is a separate issue. Put them on the agendas. Ask your questions. Find out how, with what you're going to do now, will affect these two projects. Will they be able to grandfather them in? Will they be able to put them in through a loophole? Will they not be eligible at all? Will you know? Not unless you agendize it. Would you have every right to do? To ask your questions, to be fully informed about what this development code change will mean in the future. What you do today will mean in 25 years to come, when either children will suffer from illnesses related to asbestos and contamination, or whether we'll have a thriving city that did it right and didn't put the price of political contributions and developers ahead of the health and safety and wellness of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? Okay. No. Okay. We'll go ahead and go on with consent items. Consent agenda. Consent items are considered routine in nature and may be enacted in one motion. All public and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any item may be discussed separately upon request of a member of the Planning Commission or member of the public. Does staff have any updates to the consent calendar? None? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the consent calendar items? If not, may I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have Armstead as first, Lewis as second. I heard Lewis first, so that's whatever. Okay. We'll go through the vote. Chair Guerrero,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Quill, Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chair Armstead, Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Consent calendar approved.
Thank you. Public hearing items. The Planning Commission will first hear a report from staff, and then the public hearing will be open. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak. Next, members of the public will be allowed to speak. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak must be sworn in and also fill out a request to speak form. The forms are located on the table near the door. When your name is called, come forward and speak into the microphone. Say and spell your name and give your address for the taped record. After all have spoken, the applicant will be allowed to respond. The public hearing will then be closed and the Planning Commission will begin deliberations and make a decision. All actions except general plan amendments and amendments to the Municipal Development Code are final action unless an appeal is filed and fee paid within 15 days to the Community Development Department. If you challenge the resultant action of the Planning Commission in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described in this agenda, or in written correspondence delivered to the Community Development Department at or prior to the public hearing. We can go ahead and have the staff report for item number 2, please.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Josh Ramatinos. I'm one of the real property managers for the city, and I'll be presenting the real property street vacation 15.30-438. Before I begin the presentation, I'd like to read into record corrections to the staff report and resolution for item number 2. To clarify, the request to vacate the portion of East Drake Drive is to accommodate an industrial project and not a commercial project, as specified in the resolution and staff report. And for those of you not familiar with what a vacation is, a street vacation is the complete or partial abandonment or termination of the public right to use a street, highway, or public service easement. So, Mike. So the reason for the stated petition to vacate this portion of East Drake Drive is to accommodate, obviously, the new industrial development, which will consist of a warehouse building that's prefabricated, and the applicant is Case Club. The portion of East Drake Drive is specified here on the plot notice as Exhibit B. And attached also to the presentation is an aerial map clearly indicating that this is a cul-de-sac area of the street that's no longer in use. The proposed street vacation is consistent with the general plan. Planning staff has concluded that the proposed vacation is categorically exempt from CEQA, and there is no significant impact on the environment. Utility companies have been notified. Both Frontier Communications and SCE have indicated they'd like their easements to be preserved. And we've noticed the hearing in advance to all the local stakeholders as well as utility providers. The recommendation going forward is to forward a recommendation to the Mayor and City Council recommending approval of real property street vacation 15.30-438 based on the findings, fact, and finding that the project is subject to a categorical exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act. At this time, I entertain questions, if there's any questions regarding the street vacation.
Thank you. Any questions from?
Is there a map?
Yes, ma'am. This is the aerial map. It's East Drake Drive in Foisey. As you'll see there, the little box indicates project site. project area.
So the street doesn't lead onto Waterman?
No, ma'am,
No.
not that portion, no.
Okay.
And in cases like this, the ownership will be reverted to the owners that currently have fee interest in the property. So that 50-foot section will be reverted 25 feet to the northern property owner, and the 25 feet to the south will be reverted back to the southern property owner.
What other structures are around that street? Are there any homes or other businesses?
Yeah, there are some homes and businesses. There's also planned development on that corner that's to the southeast. So you
How
see that
many
vacant
homes?
piece of land, that's a proposed development that's currently underway with the city as well.
Have the homes been contacted that you?
Yes, ma'am, we've noticed all the local area residents within 1,000 feet of the project site.
And what was the,
No objections, no comments.
but does that mean that nobody showed up to the public hearing, or some people did?
Well-
And that's what they said?
Yeah, the public hearing's now, so if there's anyone here that's requesting to speak on behalf of the project,
Okay.
they're welcome.
So there's only going to be one way in and one way out?
Ye-
Once, because you're talking about the whole vacation of the street?
No, it's just that cul-de-sac area. It's not limiting ingress or egress for any of the area residents or businesses.
Okay.
I do.
Is it common for street vacation proposals to happen before a development comes through? I'm just trying to understand the sequencing of, it's in anticipation of a project. Is that project already approved, or?
That's a great question. And then in this particular case, the site plan that the applicant is holding on to is contingent upon the proposed vacation being approved or rejected. So their setback requirements and their building requirements may change if the vacation is not allowed.
Okay, I drove by there, and so piggybacking, there are a couple of residences, it was like 3 residences that are there. However, if you're going to vacate the property, abandon the property, what happens to them? How do they get in and out their property? What works?
This portion of the road doesn't eliminate any ingress or egress for the local area residents. It's just the cul-de-sac area that is directly adjacent to the project site. So that as it is right now is a dead end.
Correct?
Yeah.
But, so it's a dead, just clarify, because I'm not sure what I'm looking at. If I can stand up?
Please.
So this is the dead end, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is how these people come in and out their property?
No, they have access to,
Here?
yes,
What about
ma'am.
this person?
That's all one parcel.
This is all one parcel?
Yes, ma'am.
But they had several structures on the property when
Yes.
they built lot. But it's one owner
Yes, ma'am.
for one parcel? Okay, and they can come out this way?
Yes, ma'am. So that property owner will receive 25 feet if the vacation is approved.
Okay, that clarified it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your project here. Am I to understand that the vacant lot, which is just north of the street vacation, will also be occupied by the proposed warehouse?
Yes, sir.
So it will go from, pretty much from the property line just to the south of the street vacation to the north side of the vacancy, right?
Correct.
Next to it.
The vacation will provide the new land to the owner if approved to the center line.
And can you tell me, or did I miss that, what exactly is this warehouse that is being proposed?
It's a foam manufacturer based out of Anaheim or Orange County, California. They're just building a prefabricated warehouse building to store their materials.
We're storing foam?
Yeah, but yes, correct. But this component is just to approve the street vacation portion. It's not.
I got that.
It's not
I got
regarding
that
the project.
Well, yeah, I get that. Okay, all right, thank you.
I have one question. So in theory, if we approve the vacation this evening. Potentially in the future, we will have who's proposing to build their, the warehouse. Will they come in and then they'll,
Yes, correct.
we would have to approve that, right?
Yes,
as
that's a
well?
separate, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And then let's say, for whatever reason, we get to that point, we don't approve it, can other people, because we vacated it already, can somebody else potentially try to build on that land, or how does that work?
Well, again, if we vacate that portion of the street, half of the center line goes to the northern property owner and half goes to the south, irregardless of what development occurs.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for this item. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? No? Is the applicant here, or, okay,
No, ma'am.
okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. May I entertain a motion for this item? Does anybody want to make a motion on this item?
I can. I'll make a motion to approve item number 2 on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
Chair Guerrero,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Quill,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
No.
Vice Chair Armstead, Commissioner Lewis,
No.
and Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Okay, we have 2 noes. The item is approved.
Thank you. Item number 3, staff report, please.
Yes, Happy New Year and good evening, Commissioners. Mike Rosales with the Planning Division. Tonight, item number 3 is Conditional Use Permit 21-18 and Public Convenience or Necessity Letter 21-07. Our proposed project is to allow the development, establishment, and operation of a market/convenience store with an alcoholic beverage control type 21 for off-sale general license within an existing building containing approximately 2,000 square feet on a parcel containing approximately half an acre. It is located at 1820 West Fifth Street within the commercial general CG1 zone. Here we have our location map. You can see the mass amount of residential, the public park, the public facilities surrounding the proposal. Here we have our aerial map with Rubin Compost Center here in Nunez Park. Section 1902-50 for definitions of the City of San Bernardino Development Code defines a convenience store as a retail sale of grocery, staple items, sundry items, and/or alcoholic beverages where the gross floor area is less than 5,000 square feet. Mikey's Market is proposed at approximately 2,000 square feet, which by definition is categorized as a convenience store. The subject property is within a 1-mile radius of another convenience store known as Westside Food and Liquor, and approximately 3,500 linear feet from the convenience store known as Rancho Ria Liquor, which would not satisfy the distancing requirements for convenience stores per section 190625, which prohibits the establishment and operations of a convenience store within 1 mile of another per the development code requirements. Section 1906, Article 2, Section 3 states a new alcoholic beverage sales activity is not permitted within 500 feet of certain sensitive land uses. Mikey's Market is 480 linear feet from sensitive land use known as Nunez Park and Rubin Campos Community Center, which is a daycare. Alcoholic beverage control, ABC license concentration standards allow for a maximum of 3 off-sale licenses. There are currently 5 existing off-sale licenses within the census tract, giving an overconcentration of 2 licenses. The police department did not recommend or approve denial. However, the project is not compatible with the neighborhood. Here we see the distancing from Rancho Ria. You can see the project up here, Rancho's down here, and if you see down here the tabulation. The same with Westside Liquor. Westside Liquor, proposal, tabulation. Here we have a view of the north. Here we have the project looking south. Here we have the project looking east, and the project looking west. And here we have our site plans. And our recommendation today is that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2023-002, denying conditional use permit 21-18 and public convenience or necessity letter 21-07, based on the findings of facts. The applicant is here to answer any questions, and I can go ahead and take any questions if need be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd rather wait to hear the applicant.
Me. We'll open up the public hearing for this item.
I knew that. Good evening, everyone. My first time, okay, I'm nervous, sir. I understand that there's, first fact that we're near other stores, but if you make a direct line, yes, it's about almost a mile. And he wants a mile, us to be away from a mile. But if you go all the way around, it's almost 2 miles to get to the real market. And then after speaking to the police, what the police department indicated that there's a lot of crime in the area where the other markets are at. She didn't propose to say that we're high crime or there's a lot of crime there. So as Mr. Rosales said, you know, she didn't deny it or approved it. And then third is that we're doing a lot of upgrades, and we're going to do a lot of upgrades to the property. We already did some. We fixed the flooring. We pre-painted it. We have security there now. We're going to put a lot of lights. We're going to really implement and improving the center, the location, the property. So, and keep in mind that we don't want to be a full liquor store or anything like that. We want to be a small market providing liquor, you know, for the neighborhood. And we don't want to be labeled as a liquor store. We want to help the community. Plus also, if you realize there's 3 miles before you can get to a location where you can pay your bills. That is a low-income area, and in that area, people have to drive 3 miles in order to pay their bills. We will have a bill service there. We will have security, lighting. We will do everything possible to work with the community and the city of San Bernardino. So that being said, we want to do whatever we need that you guys recommended. We like I said, our service is to providing safety concerns of the citizens, and we hope that you can help us out. We cannot move forward with the problem just opening the store. It wouldn't be a proper thing to open because we don't have, it wouldn't produce income to survive. So we need your help to survive. And like I said, for priority is safety. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. Oh, sorry. Are you the property owner?
No, that's Mrs. Hugh.
Okay.
We leased it out for 10 years. If we get it approval, and we have an agreement that if we somehow get it approval, we would purchase the property. So we have like a open agreement to purchase the property, but that only depends on what we can get established here.
Okay, have you secured building permits for the improvements you've made so far?
We just cleaned up. We're ready to pull out the permits for like full landscaping on it, but we wanted to just clean up the area because the place was very, very, very filthy. So we did enough just to clean it. It didn't require permits yet, but we're ready to pull permits if you guys, help us out. We're willing to do whatever it takes. We're ready to pull permits. We did pull permits for the electrical, so everything inside has been approved with permits. Electrical's all done, tile. And then the outside, it took us 6 months to get the electricity, and we pulled the permit and it's done. So now we just have to do is fully pull permits to build the market and sign permits and full landscaping. But the place is ready to pull permits, but it's already inside. It's clean. It was pull permits, new drywall. It's beautiful inside. All we have to do is start establishing all the details like freezers and stuff like that. but we're ready to pull permits for the freezers and improvements. Our main concern is that we definitely want to put 100%, make the landscaping very, very presentable since it's Route 66. But we did put new flooring, so the flooring's ready. We just have to paint the strips, the parking strips. No changes to the outside, but just fully landscaping.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have some questions.
Sure.
How many refrigerator doors do you have in?
We're approximately, is going to be 22 refrigerators inside.
22?
Yeah, because we need a lot of,
And
eight of them has to be sodas and drinks,
8 of them have to be what?
for Cokes and orange juice and stuff like that.
Okay.
We have several stores now. We just we went through approval in San Jacinto, but, so we need 8 for beverages and the rest for.
That's a lot of refrigeration for alcoholic beverages. When
Well, no, 8 is for drinks, like orange juice.
I know, but you said you were going to have 20, over 20
Yes.
refrigerator doors, so that's more than half
Well, it's 2, 4,
dedicated
6,
to.
8, 10. It's, well, that's what we can put in there.
Are you going to sell produce?
Yes, we are.
Are you going to sell meat?
No, not until, if we get something like approval, we will build extra space, since we're proposing purchasing the property, and then we extend it and pull out permits so we can extend and make it larger.
And what other items would you be selling?
Our main concerns are, we're selling all convenience store items. One of our best services will be billing services, where the people can pay their electricals and cables and.
But it's not listed as a building services, it's listed as a grocery store. So I'm asking, what kind of groceries will you be selling?
Oh, all the breads and, the canned foods and items such as laundry detergents, and it's just like a regular market, everything. We have over 15 items that can fit in that store, because we do have some certain stores now that are small, but we have 1,500 items for market.
So other stores, where are they located? You
We
have
have one-
another store located in San Bernardino?
Yes, we have one in San Bernardino on East Street that's been there for almost 25 years.
On East Street?
Yes, E and Highland, East and Highland, we've been there for 25 years. No criminal activity or problems in the years. We just built a brand new one. We got a CUP approved in San Jacinto. We just got approved in one of the best looking liquor stores, markets in San Jacinto. We're working on another one in Riverside. And also I'm working on possibly purchasing a 98-cent store that's in San Bernardino.
In this area, it's oversaturated with 3 stores already selling alcohol.
I'm not here to talk about other stores in there, but if you really realize what's going on, some of those stores are a lot of criminal activity, and they're so packed with, you can't even park. If you really, one store you can't even park there, and it's a lot of crime. I investigated. I will not mention the names, but I feel safe, and people will feel safer in our store, because we'll have lighting and more parking area, more open space.
More alcohol, yes.
Alcohol is going to be purchased. Yeah, we will have more alcohol, but it's not something that we're focusing on. We're focusing on surviving and making a better place for people shopping or local. But yes, we'll
With
be
more
providing alcohol.
than half of the refrigerated space dedicated to the alcohol.
We're proposing to put 22, but it all depends on our engineering making plans. So at this point, the minimum, I should have mentioned that. The minimum of the refrigerator that I know that we can place right now is 14. Now, we were going to put these, Coca-Cola will provide us freezers, but I'd rather have walk-in freezers where we could put all the Cokes in a set of 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola, because then it takes a lot of space and it's a lot of electricity. So we're proposing putting 12 on this side and I think 8 or 6 could fit. So we can walk in with the drinks. Yes, we will be providing liquor, but that's to survive, and we want to improve. We're in the business trying to do the best we can in our life. So we just need your help to make the improvements and purchase the property. And I'm 100%. You'll be happy with our work and our service. Like I said, Mike has another liquor store down the block, 25 years, not a problem. And then it's in a bad, tough environment, no problems. I can get a police report.
I have one question for the staff. What was the reason for the staff denying or recommending that denying for that?
It's basically because it's the distancing requirements from one convenience store to another convenience store is a mile, which is 5,280 linear
What was
feet.
that again? I'm sorry, I can hardly hear you.
So basically, it's distancing requirements and too close to sensitive use, which is the park. So 500 linear feet from a sensitive use, it's 480 from Nunez Park, and then it needs to be a mile from any other convenience store, and you have two convenience stores that are within way under a mile to the proposal.
Okay.
So
And
that
is
was
that
that
all?
was our basis for denial.
Is that all?
That is correct. That is all.
But if you realize the other market, if you straight line, it makes it almost a mile. But if you go all the way around and all the way go up the whole out ramp and everything, that's almost 2 miles to get to the store because there's a lot of land over there and a lot of companies. So it's actually 2 miles to get to the other store. And then we're only about 200 feet, less than 200 feet from the other market from getting approval. And that's what we recommend. But also, like I said, I'm not going to mention stores, but there's a lot of crime area, and so the police department wasn't against it because it would be more safer for on our location. Like we said, we're going to do whatever requirements the city wants us and improve the area. So it's only basically 200 feet from one store, and if you go all the way around it, it's about 2 miles. I drove myself. It's not exactly within 1 mile. You have to go all the way down Fifth. Street going up a ramp, going around. It takes about 2 miles to get to that store, if you would look up the map.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the driving distance to the other store is a couple miles.
It's actually about 2 miles,
perhaps.
yes, sir.
Okay. When you decided to put this store together and start doing the improvements, had you intended to come to the city and get a license for the alcohol?
When we were offered to buy the property, I said, let's try it. We said, let's do the improvements no matter what, just to let you guys know that we mean business with improvement. So we're taking the chance and saying that we already put all this money in it, hopefully that it'll get approved. If we don't get it approved, well, we tried and we did some improvement in cleaning up the property. And the one that's going to be benefit is going to be the owner, the landlord. So our intention is that after we did my due diligence, it was, I know the outcome, how it could turn out to be, but I'm doing my best and I'm willing to do my best to do improvements.
Okay, earlier when I asked you a question, you said that you were going to open the store, but it was contingent upon getting the alcohol approval. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've had that location for almost 2 years, and through the COVID and all that, it's made it tough. Everything's went up, and it will be very hard to survive. To survive without not providing beer. People walk into the store. You don't got beer? No, they leave. They don't even want to pay their. They'd rather go to Cardinals or Big Market and pay their bills and get beer. So we won't be able to survive. There's no possible way we could survive with just sodas and chips and stuff like that. It wouldn't make sense either for an investment for us. That's basically all I can say about that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. May I ask that now, will this have normal liquor store, I'm sorry, market hours, or what are we talking about in hours? And will there be on-site security?
My proposal is on-site security, open from 8 to 10 at the minimum. We don't stay open late. We usually close at 10. So the store will be closed at 10. That's where all our stores are right now. We open, some of them open at 6 because the one in San Jacinto provides a lot of coffee. And so we open at 6, but we close around 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. And yes, 100% there'll be security. We will have plenty of lighting. We were making a big improvement with lighting and security, yes. That's one of the most important, our safety. We don't want to get caught, something drastic happening, and then we'll feel bad about it. I am very concerned about the public safety.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Okay, oh, for both items. Okay. Councilman, yes, please. And we'll go ahead and have Stephanie swear you in.
Anybody else that walked in late that is looking to speak? Thank you. Please raise your right hand. Yeah, you're fine. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this body is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. How are you? My name is Kimberly Calvin. I am first a resident of Ward 6, where I was actually born, and so was my father and grandmother. And now I am councilwoman for that ward, and it is my honor every single day to be able to serve the community members of Ward 6. Commissioner Lopez, thank you for your line of questioning, and Mr. Quell as well, because you were reading my mind, and whether or not one store wants to identify themselves as a liquor store, it appears and sounds that that is exactly what the majority of what they're going to be selling. For any of you who are familiar with this area, you will see that, yes, it is a lot of blight. And yes, there are liquor stores about every mile, half mile away from each other. And that is something that continues to create and allow that type of culture to continue. For the past 2 years, I've been working very hard. Speaking with the Economic Development Department about what the people of Ward 6 actually need in these desolate areas. Ward 6 is a food desert. Ward 6 has one full grocery store. And this is not what it is that I would consider equity. Equity does not mean that you give us something today and then so that it can be stated that you gave us something today. Equity means that you assess each portion, a portion of this city to see what is needed. And you identify that. And then you give that area what it needs in order to be brought up to the level of equity, to the level of what every other ward has. Currently, Ward 6, and since 1966, has been deemed as a ward of where you may place liquor stores, warehouses, now tractors, trucking, every type of business industry that can continue to create poor air quality for the people of Ward 6. Ward 6 is the hottest area in the city, meaning temperature-wise. You can speak to a number of environmental justice organizations that represent this city, and they will give you all the data that you need. This gentleman mentioned Route 66. Right now, as the city is currently creating a new general plan, I'm so sorry. I'm asking you tonight to not continue to allow Ward 6 to just be deemed as a place where liquor stores and warehouses and place for trucking and logistics to come to. Thank you very much. Consider the health of every single person in this city.
Thank you. If we can have Valerie DeBesh.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Dobish. My maiden is Scotilanas. My family's been in this neighborhood for 120 years. My mother was born on Route 66. My parents still live in the same house that they brought me home from the hospital. I've worked in drug and alcohol, and I know that is not a good place for our neighborhood to have alcohol being sold. It's right across from the park. The trailers are loaded and unloaded right there on 4th Street. Come around the corner. People are going 55 miles an hour. Trucks are flying by there. You're going to have a convenience store, people coming out of there, maybe they got a buzz, and they're going to get some more beer. Not in my neighborhood. I don't want that in my neighborhood. I want something constructive in that building for our neighbors. That's where I live. And I oppose this. I'm here speaking in behalf of other neighbors that couldn't make it today. We had an illegal pot dispensary a block away, and they're still trying to vacate people that are squatting. And the property, but people need to use their voice. People need to be here and say, no, thank you. Don't want that in my neighborhood. Put that in your neighborhood. Evaluate, like Mrs. Kimberly was saying. Evaluate. There's a afternoons program across the street at the park. And we're going to have this liquor license there. Really? So my father's 93 years old, and he said, what happened to this city? And I said, it's a long story. And to have this in our neighborhood, come on now. This is not fair for the residents to have a liquor license there. I work drug and alcohol. The law says if you go down east of where this location is, there's a place that has alcohol. I saw a young man passed out with a pint of bottle just laying flat on the sidewalk. And my father says, what is going on here? Well, that could happen down right there, too. I don't know. I don't want that in my neighborhood. So just think about, would you like that in your neighborhood? Yeah, I was born and raised. My girlfriend, my neighbor, she's retired just like me. And she says, I want to be there today. And she texts me, she says, I can't, I'm sick, I have COVID. So if I got to go and knock on everybody's door and get a signed sheet to oppose this, I know that's where I was raised. My mother was part of civil rights movement back in the 60s in San Bernardino. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Okay. Well, if anything, I would like to see something of value at that property. I've seen it vacant for quite some years. It's on, I want to say, a dangerous side of 5th Street as it turns into Foothill. You have a lot of, whether it's car accident or speeding or anything like that. Having a liquor store, a convenience store in that area, I don't see it as a benefit to the residents. And that's in Ward 1. And of course, we have the preschool, we have the park, we have the elementary school very close by to the neighborhood. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Madam Chair, would you like to ask the applicant if he would like to give any responses to the public comments given?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Any additional information, any response? Yes.
Well, I understand some of the concerns of the citizens that just spoke. If you notice, he said there's a lot of drunken people at the other areas, that there have been other stores that they've had people knocked out. I've passed by the stores a lot. Speaking to the sheriff's department concerning the matter, because the one I did like I said, did my due diligence. It's not the safest, but it's not the worst area. The worst area is inside the homes where the liquor stores are at. We're providing security. We know that there's a park there. The park is for the nearest playground for the children and everything, it's almost 640 feet. The land, the park across the street is filthy, 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 filthy. We even cleaned up the area next behind that belongs to the property. We cleaned it up as a courtesy because of our store, and that belongs to the city. The city didn't clean that mess, we did. And then so, as for the park, it's so filthy across the street, and there's no stores around the area. We will be much safer with us with lighting and everything. And there's two entrances and exits, one to the main and one to the street. So there's plenty of, we did our traffic evaluation. I filed paperwork for a traffic evaluation. It was okay, he passed, he said it was no problem. So, and then environmental, there's nothing causing environmental problems with animals or anything. So that being said, it's yes, and the school is far away. People are going to drive. You're going to make people drive far away to buy liquor, make them drive. They're going to buy liquor, and we don't want them to buy liquor far away and then driving and causing an accident or anything. That's one of our studies we said, we spoke to a lot of local residents, a lot. I did myself. And it wasn't opposed, but we're not here based on what public wants or people are talking about it. That's not my job. My job is to see if we can get opportunity to start a business and to clean up the environment. If people want, I guarantee in writing that they don't want that property to be vacant and dirty and full of homeless people. They broke in twice before I put the electrical out. They took all my copper wire and everything. And we put security there. Where there's security now, right now, property, there's a trailer there taking care of the property. But if we don't get help and assistance, it's going to be like that for a long time, long time. So being vacant is going to cause more problems. So we took the chance of spending all the money to improve the location. And so we're here with security, improving the location. If we can't get help, then I'm afraid I'm going to have to just stop the project. And we're going to have the same thing, but it's going to be back to normal, back to homelessness, trash, and everything. We did our part to let you guys know that we are serious about doing our part. The place is cleaned up, new parking. We picked up the city's trash. The park across the street, it doesn't make sense. If you really go to the property, you look across the street, it's filthy. I wish I can get a lawnmower and cut and replant the whole thing, and then I would say something, but I can't afford to fix up the park. But the nearest playground for the children is 600 feet. And talking about the school is 3-4 blocks away, almost 1,600 square feet. I'm just, like I said, we're doing improvements. If they want to continue, residents want to continue, we wish I can open an ice cream store. I'm even thinking about the property next door, the car wash. We were thinking about opening maybe a restaurant or something if we had help, so we can combine the stores together, ice cream shop. I was previously owner of La Michoacana Ice Creams. I wouldn't put an ice cream parlor where I think it's bad environment. I always had my locations at good store locations, even if they were next to liquor stores, and it had no problem. We also sold the liquor store on Foothill, down the block, about 1.5 miles, and we never had troubles. We had the local police department's help, so we want to improve. Like I said, keep in mind that we want to improve the property, the safety, improve the area, improve the streets, improve Route 66. We won't be able to continue without your guys' help. That's the bottom line. It doesn't. There was a restaurant years ago that didn't make it. There's people, they won't rent it. They won't rent the location. That's when the landlord approached me and says, "Fernando, you want to buy it or something?" I said, "I'll consider it." I own lots of restaurants right now as we speak. I wouldn't consider opening a restaurant. It wouldn't work. And I'm not going to spend $100,000. I'm willing to spend $300 to improve it, to get help to open the market, because I know the billing services, credit cards, and all that stuff would help me. But for opening a restaurant, just to spend all that money and close, no, I wouldn't be able to survive. So, keep in mind, we're there to improve security and improve the neighborhood and improve the street. And whatever it takes, we would do to work with the city to make sure that safety is done. So we would do whatever utmost I can keep you, but I swear I would do it right in front of you. I'll be there to let you guys know and give you improvement. I'm willing to write a letter every month. If we find ourselves or there, we think that it's causing problems or a safety concern, I personally will shut it down myself. I don't want no problems. I don't want, I lost family members from drinking. There's just, unfortunately, there's some people that know how to drink and some people that don't, and that's nothing we can stop. But like I said, my concern is my investment. Best thing for the neighborhood. I have family members that live in the area. But like I said, my improvements, safety, and concerns, they're there for you guys to help me out. I'll do whatever it takes to do the improvements. I want you guys, and I want the people, and I want the city to say, hey, they did an excellent job. That's nice. I don't want somebody to say it's just a liquor store or junk. We don't sell paraphernalia. If you wrote I don't sell paraphernalia. I don't sell drug paraphernalia. I don't sell porno. It's a clean market. I want my children. That's why I'm calling the Happy Face Mikey's. Happy Face. I want neighborhood friendly market. If I wanted to call it liquor store, I'd call it Frank's Liquor or something. No, I put Happy Face. That's my logo, smiling, and a happy neighborhood market.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I didn't mean to slam the door. It sounds like.
No, not at all.
That's it.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wishing to speak on this item? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion, please.
Can you clarify the motion? The motion is to deny, correct?
No, a motion to approve would be to deny the project because the resolution is written to deny. So a motion to approve is
Approve
to
the
deny the
denial.
project.
Okay. I motion to approve the denial.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Chair Guerrero,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Quill,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chair Armstead, Commissioner Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Okay, the item passes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4, staff report, please.
Good evening. Item number 4 is Development Permit Type P 22-3. The proposed project is to convert an existing 2-story office building containing approximately 9,988 square feet into an apartment complex consisting of 12 multiple family residential units. The project site is located at 1490 North D and is comprised of approximately 0.68 acres on 3 parcels. It's located within our commercial office as well as our adaptive reuse overlay district. Here we have an aerial map of the existing site as it is. It is surrounded by similar multifamily residential developments as well as some commercial types of developments. Here we have our zoning map. As you can see, it is within our commercial office zone. It is part of our adaptive reuse overlay, and I will go over that with you shortly. And we have some residentially zoned property, commercial office zoned properties as well. So one of the planning strategies that we adopted, that was adopted by Mayor and City Council back in April 2018 was our adaptive reuse. The adaptive reuse is a specific type of zoning district in where we're able to allow certain types of specific allowances where we can convert existing commercial property into viable residential uses. In doing our analysis, this area had a decrease in commercial office spaces, and for this reason, the adaptive reuse was presented as a tool to be able to allow for specific areas within the city to be converted, to have office uses converted into viable multifamily residential uses. Essentially, the adaptive reuse overlay would allow for the conversion of the commercial office building, in this case, that is located within the commercial office zone into multifamily residential without having to change the base zone. The property here is located at 1490 North D, as previously mentioned, and so it will convert the existing office space into 12 residential units. The first and the second floor will be divided with 6 residential units on each floor. The size will range from 711 square feet to 1,000 square feet. There will be bedrooms from 1 bedroom to 2 bedrooms, depending on the size of the square footage of the unit. And it would have independent kitchens with their own individual washer and dryer availability. They do have a center 1,057 square foot open space courtyard where they'll have like picnic areas. And it is going to have 24-hour security cameras at certain vantage points of the project site. The primary access will be through 2 driveway approaches on West Magnolia Avenue. I will present that in the next couple slides. They will be providing 21 parking spaces with 2 additional accessible parking spaces as required. Here we have the project site looking northwest from North D Street and West Magnolia. This is the existing building. It's in good condition. The proponent is actually going to be modernizing it, including additional coloring, texturing, windows that, in order to accommodate the new residential units and meet all the building code requirements. Here we have the project site looking north from the West Magnolia Avenue. As you can see, there is currently 2 existing driveway approaches. So that will be the main access. So it's just, they'll be going in and then coming out, looping out. Here's a rendering of the existing site once it's completely rehabbed. They're going to do new modern coloring, texturing. They're going to incorporate new window openings per building code requirements. So they're going to completely modernize the building to be able to be used as a residential apartment complex. Here we have the existing site plan. There is already existing landscaping. They are going to be incorporating some new landscaping here because we have some multifamily residential. We do have some landscaping that will be incorporated here in this section. So essentially, they'll integrate both of the landscaping sections. As you can see, here's one driveway, so they'll be going in, looping out on Magnolia. Completely no access here through West 15, kind of having everything contained at this frontage. They are going to be providing a new refuse enclosure in order to be able to accommodate the residentially developed properties at this location. For the floor plan, as you can see, this is the first floor plan. There's going to be 6 individual units. This is the courtyard area where there's going to be picnic tables, and it's all going to be within the commercial building, within the residential building. And here we have our second floor plan, sorry. I forgot to put the second floor plan, but the second floor plan is essentially a mirror image of the first floor plan. I apologize for that. As mentioned, we have existing landscaping, and then they're going to be incorporating new landscaping within the area to integrate with the already existing landscaping at that location. With that, our proposal right now is that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2023-003, forwarding a recommendation that the Mayor and City Council find the project categorically exempt pursuant to Section 15303 new structure or conversion of small structures per SEQA and Section 15332 infill development projects, and as well approve development permit type P 22-03 based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. I would also, include on record that there was an error in terms of our resolution. It noted that the noticing went out for January 10th. The noticing went out December 22nd of 2022. So I just wanted to put that on record. And the applicant is here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. We'll go ahead. Anything for the applicant? Oh. Oh, okay. Your mic's on.
I have a question. The current property currently has a small fence around it. Do you know if that's still going to be part of the new development?
Yes, so that is going to still be part of the new development. They are going to be incorporating some new fencing that, incorporated within the existing fencing. So they might need to update, like if there's that damage to it. But essentially, their intent is to keep the existing fencing, and if they need to add additional fencing to reinforce or close sections that are accessible via the public right-of-way, they are going to be doing that as well.
Great. And are all these units intended to be rental? And are they market rate?
They're going to be rented at market rate, correct?
Got it. Thank you.
I did drive by there, and when I got out, I was approached by 2 other property owners there, across the street from that property. They're happy to see that it's going to be housing, but the question is, just before it's vacated, it was a site for several different churches that were feeding the hungry, whatever. There was a lot of issues with the property. So the property owner is going to have security.
There's going to be.
There's going to be security, so you won't have.
There's going to be 24-hour security cameras at different vantage points within the property. So at the major intersections, at the entrances to the rear of the property. So it is going to be fully secured with security cameras.
Will the property manager be on-site or off-site?
I have the property owner of the building coming up to discuss that with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, council members. As far as
Excuse me, sir, 1 second. Madam Chair, could you open the public hearing for?
Yes, thank you. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for this item. Thank you.
So, as far as, we do currently own a real estate company in San Bernardino. So we own 36 properties in San Bernardino City. So we run our own property management out of there. So the management would be ran out of our location here in San Bernardino, as far as that goes. There won't be an on-site manager.
Not an on-site manager, but you'll have like 24-hour response?
That is correct.
Okay.
What's the nearest cross street to that site to be developed?
So it's on D and Magnolia, so it's, I believe, north of 14th Street.
It's, north of 14th Street, and the street right above is 15th Street. So it's right in
North of
between 14th
14th
and 15th, and then D Street going north and south.
Okay.
So it has access on both sides as far as street goes, if
And
needed.
you're going to totally renovate the building?
That is correct. That is
You're
correct.
going to
And-
knock it down and build it up again?
No, we're not going to knock it down.
Okay, then totally renovate, that's what it means to me. What are you going
That
to
is
do?
correct.
What are you
Correct.
going to do then?
So when it comes to, if I may, when it comes to renovation, completely do a complete rehab to current building code. So it's going to have new sprinkler systems, it's going to have meeting all new Title 24. They're going to have to do new window openings for egress and accessibility. They're going to do new different modern colors to modernize the color schemes to make it more presentable. They're going to do completely new repavement, restriping, a new landscaping. So just bring it up to a current, more usable site that is compatible with some newer residential type of development.
And for one family of what, 4?
Usually it would be like a family of 4 or 5. What's your, correct?
Yeah. So there's going to be units that are 1 bedrooms, 1 bath. There'll be units 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, and there'll be some 3 bedrooms, 2 bath as well. So there'll be, and there's also going to be, I believe, 2 or 3 units downstairs that are going to be handicapped accessible as well.
Okay.
Through the chair. Parking, how many stalls of parking do you have for each unit?
We went past, I think it was two per each unit or three per each unit. We were past that amount that we needed.
And have you provided area for visitors to park? Would there,
There's plenty of parking, yeah, there's gonna be plenty of parking for the residents. It'll be two parkings per unit, and then there'll also be excess,
okay,
from what I recall, I think it was 6 or 7 extra parking spaces for visitors.
okay. Have you been involved in projects like this before, refurbishing?
Yes, this is what I do for a living. Been doing this for about 20 years
Looks like
now.
a great project. Thank you.
I hope so. That's the game plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone wishing to speak on this item? We have John Matley. Okay. Come on. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Matley. I'm president of the DMV Neighborhood Association, and I live about 2 blocks away from this project. I'm in opposition to this project at this time and until certain specific concerns have been addressed. 4 years ago, my neighborhood association opposed a proposal to convert 1600 North Arrowhead from a commercial building to a residential building. At that time, we were told by council members, city planners, and other city officials that we needed to that our concerns were ill-founded and we needed to trust the decisions of the planners and approvers. Most importantly, we were told that 1600 North Arrowhead was a crucial project as it would be the pilot for future overlay development. 4 years later, have you seen the report from that pilot project? As all pilot projects should have an after-action report where we go over what we've learned. What did we learn? The outcome of that project forcefully demonstrated that this city currently possesses neither the expertise nor the mindset necessary to succeed in such a project. The fact that no post-mortem was completed or even required indicates the city also does not possess the inclination to identify and develop such expertise and mindset. A brief recap of that project is instructive. After any number of elected, appointed, and salaried officials waxed poetic about the visionary nature of the approach, when the developer ran into issues with the city government, he could find no support from any of those vocal supporters. In an ultimate irony, he turned to us, the Neighborhood Association, to help him get meetings with city officials who needed to get involved, since no one in the city would return his phone calls. Despite hundreds of hours of our best effort, the developer finally became disgusted with the city government and walked away from this project. This past November, after taxpayers spent tens of thousands of dollars responding to over 2 years of drug dealing, homeless encamping, criminality, hoarding of hazardous materials, and fires at the abandoned site, the city finally had the building demolished. Now an almost identical project emerges. Before approving any such development, you must meet your fiduciary responsibility and identify the changes that must occur to prevent a similar fate for this project. Now, specific to the documents presented here, I'm generally opposed, and we're generally opposed to these developments until the residents who will live with the outcome of this project have an opportunity to review the proposal with the developer. I ask that you delay any approval until after such a conversation can occur. Some specific concerns I've had from what I've read and heard, and I'm feeling a little better about what I just heard, but one of the things that was not mentioned in the planning documents, but people in the area have been told by people at the facility that the intention is to turn this into homeless housing, that the city's already, since the city's already overwhelmed responding to the known homeless problems in our area, that's a problem. There's also no indication that there's intention to remove commercial zoning designation from this property if this is approved. That means that this could easily become a de facto full-service homeless shelter and service center without any further review or notification. There's no indication that there's a requirement for any on-site management. The neighborhood is prone to poorly managed rental units, and we believe that an on-site manager is critical to the success of such an apartment building.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We're also concerned about traffic flow issues, parks and recs, access for
Thank you.
children.
We had one more come up for.
We have an additional speaker slip for Azar Khan.
Okay.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Azar Khan. I noticed the landscape plans only show improvements to the western side. I would like to see some improvements and have an updated landscape plan to show landscaping on 16th Street as well as D Street. So this, I mean, I'm looking at Google Street View images and it looks like a lot of it is really dilapidated. The trees need to be trimmed. I would like to see enhanced landscaping on D Street, and not just keep the existing landscape. Those are my only comments.
Thank you, sir.
You should have additional slips for number 4 as well.
Okay. Just one. The other ones were for 6, 7, and 8. Okay. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? No? Okay. Commissioner, yes.
Can we have the developer address the gentleman's concern regarding homeless, whatever?
Yeah, that was Mr. Azar, I believe. So he says 16th and D Street. This property is located on 14th and 15th. Okay, so just want to make sure. Okay, excellent. As far as yes, absolutely. There's already landscaping there. Yes, it is dead. There's actually large trees that need to be trimmed. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. The intention is to make it as beautiful as possible. We own a big commercial building in San Bernardino that we purchased about a year ago, and it was also abandoned for almost 5 years. One of the worst buildings in the area. We fixed it up. You guys ever take a drive by there? We're right off of East Street and Hunts. Building, the last building on the right-hand side, completely gutted that entire building. So any properties that we own a lot of properties in the city, we make sure our properties are in top-notch condition for the tenants as well, make sure that they're in good condition. And Mr. Matley, you had mentioned you have some concerns, forgot one of them.
One of the things that people on the property have told neighbors is that the intention is to make this available as housing for homeless.
Got it, yeah, that's absolutely incorrect. Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
And then I have a few other things. I mean, we would like to meet with you and go over what the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the city. I'm born and raised here in San Bernardino, and we own several businesses here, and we're always available anytime. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question too. Sorry.
Oh, yes, Commissioner.
I just want to say thank you. Oops, sorry. Thank you for bringing this project to the city. I do have one concern. If you can bring the picture of the rendering, it looks like it's, because I understand there's going to be apartments on that first floor, correct?
On the
Like on the first floor, there will be
Yes.
housing there.
Correct.
So to me, based on the rendering, it doesn't look like there's like a wall that's very high. My concern is possibly like a traffic accident. And I don't know, if maybe potentially we can put a wall
So
for some protection.
yeah,
That's
absolutely. I
just a
think you have one of
concern.
the. Yeah, 100%. I think one of the first photos has there's one or two big trees. If you look at the top, right there, and it's also fenced in as well. So.
So that fencing would stay?
Yeah, absolutely. We're
Okay.
going to modernize it and
Got it.
make it look a lot nicer, obviously. But
Okay,
yeah,
great.
so yeah, it does have some big. I think they're almost sequoia trees on each corner.
Okay.
So as far as any vehicles going in,
Okay,
there's
good. Yeah,
three
and
trees,
as
I think
long
it
as that fencing, stays there
Yeah.
with any updates that it needs to.
and it'll be automatic
That's good.
for the tenants to come and go. Everything will be on automatic
Okay.
as well.
All right, thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So are you contemplating doing anything? I know I heard you say that there will be new irrigation, stuff like that. Are we doing any green stuff like solar, LED lighting?
Well, so the
perhaps even, I'm sorry, perhaps even as you continue to develop your landscaping, consider artificial turf on the property. What are your thoughts on that?
So I've done artificial turf on some of our other properties that we've owned, and they haven't been there's a lot of maintenance behind the artificial turf. So I tend to stay away from those. What I normally like to do, there's a sand type of material that looks more like desert type, low maintenance. There's, low water plants that go on it. Just beautifies it, low maintenance, and it just makes it a lot easier for everyone, to enjoy the outside areas with the other properties that we have. As far as the actual units that are there now they're office space. So they're basically just a complete square. We're gonna go in there and build everything inside. So plumbing, electrical, everything's gonna be brand new. I believe the actual main line to the building, because right now currently only serves 4 toilets. I think 4 upstairs and 4 downstairs. There's going to be a lot more toilets, so the main line's going to have to be upgraded as well. So it's literally going to be almost a brand-new building. New central AC systems, windows, electrical, plumbing, kitchen, everything. So, yeah. So
Any consideration for solar?
that hasn't been brought up. I don't know to what extent that would be an expense. Obviously, we are trying to make a profit here, so the more that we have to put into it, the more that we have to raise the rent. And we're trying to, you know, keep it at a price where it's accommodating for the tenants as well, because, you know, with the rent prices being so high, we're trying to get them rented out as quickly as possible.
And you are not necessarily with this project targeting, or are you targeting any specific genre of people like seniors or?
Not necessarily.
It's just open to
It's
anyone
open,
that wants to
absolutely,
apply.
yeah, just like all of our other properties are. It's open to anybody. Yeah, there'll be a process they have to go through, but, you know, just like anything else.
If you could, what would be your, what are you looking at? I mean, 'cause I'm sure you've crunched your own numbers.
Yeah.
With the expenses of the renovation and the upgrades and what have you, what are you looking at, say, a 2-bedroom rental price?
So it'll be around $1,600.
$1,600?
Yeah, dollars.
Oh, dollars. Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
$1,600, yeah.
Okay. And you did say you'll have cameras like
Yes, sir.
really?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep, no problem, thank you.
All right. Anyone else wishing to speak? No? Okay, yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. Is this project already fully funded? Is the money there to complete this and get it up and running?
To the project right now, about $160,000 out of pocket, and I still don't have approval yet. I think I've been working on this for an entire year now, and I've just been on standby, just waiting for this to be approved, but the funds are there.
It's there. This is, what do you think the turnaround will be as far as?
When it's all said and done, I tend to flip properties within 3 to 4 weeks. So, you know, a house, a 4 bedrooms, 2-bath house, I can get it from being in bad condition to resellable condition. So I'm estimating, you know, with the crew that I have, you know, 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 months, depending on how fast the city can move with me. But we move pretty quick.
Looking like the design, and really?
You got to check on my Instagram. You see some of the projects that we've done.
Okay. All right, thank
That's Jose Ponce 909 for all you guys, anybody wants to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and may I have a motion, please?
I can make a motion to approve item number 4.
I'll second that motion.
For the vote?
Chair Guerrero,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Commissioner Quill. Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chair Armstead, Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Item is approved.
Thank you. Item number 5, staff report, please.
Yes, good evening. Item number 5 tonight is extension of time 22-02 for tentative track map 20150. The proposed project is an extension of time for previously approved subdivision 17-08 for tentative track map 20150, which was already approved July 9th, 2019 by the City of San Bernardino Planning Commission. It is located within the residential low zone and located on the north side of the intersection of West Bertamont Drive and North Little League Drive. The applicant is requesting an extension of time for previously approved subdivision 1708. This is a request to extend the project for 1 year. Due to the COVID-19 and the financial issues that it caused, Resolution 2021-049 via Executive Order Number 2021-01 was passed on February 17th, 2021 by the City of San Bernardino City Council, approving an emergency ordinance resulting in an 18-month extension to all discretionary and non-discretionary land use and planning approvals. That all the ones that were issued prior to and in effect on March 4th, 2020, and set to expire prior to December 31st, 2021. This included residential, commercial, and industrial developments. Subdivision 17-08 was approved July 9th, 2019, and meets the criteria for the automatic extension as it expired July 9th, 2021. The extension of time would give the applicant until January 9th, 2024 to either apply for another extension of time or to proceed with the project. And as a recap, the original approval was for the subdivision only of 66.7 acres to 84 single-family residential lots, all averaging 12,700 square feet with 3 detention bases located on the property. Here we have the location map. It is within the residential low. Here we have the aerial map. This is the existing site from Little League Drive. Here we have our overall site plan. And here is what the pads for the subdivision look like. Pads only, no development at this time. So our recommendation tonight is that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2023-004, adopting the categorical exemption in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and approving extension of time 22-02 tentative track map 20150 based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. I can go ahead and take any questions, and the applicant is here to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Mike, could you mention the one thing in the resolution?
I forgot to mention. Let me read into the record. On page 2 of the resolution, within the second whereas, the date reads January 9th, 2023, but it should read January 9th, 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And you said the applicant is here?
That's correct.
Okay.
Did you have questions for him?
We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. And any questions from commissioners for this item? Yes, thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Can you, this is a one-year extension to, am I to understand that you want to delay breaking ground, so to speak, to January of 2024?
Yes.
And this was originally approved, do we know when? That, I missed that on there.
July 9th, 2019.
And can we know what the nature, I mean, what's going on? Why is that's like 4 years, 5 years?
Well, we, if you get a chance and you can come up to the project, we are building currently 109 homes just south of Vermont. So we have to work our way up. So right now, Little League's all paved. We're building the first 74 homes and another 21-acre parcels that'll be approximately about $1.3 million in price range of the homes that we're going to be building there. So we're building the reason why we need the extension is because we've got to work our way up from the school down on Myers Road and work our way through. So if you happen to be up there, you'll see what we're doing, which is very unique, actually. We're building 2 homes on a lot, which is a single-family residence with an ADU in the back. So, and those prices are in the $800,000 range, and they're selling very well in San Bernardino. So, and to answer your question, once we finish this portion, which should be completed around 2024, then we start on the north side. But we are working with the water department to bring water up there to the north side because we don't have any water up there at this point. But
the 109 homes that you're they're already pretty much in place. Have you completed it, or what's the deal there?
We're in the middle of construction on 74 of those.
On 74
And
of
then
them.
we will be building 1 acre parcels on the west side of Little League. And those are that map has also been approved, but our plans are have been submitted for approval to build a larger product there. And that'll take place this year. So if you go up there, you'll see all the streets, everything's in. And the houses are being built right now.
And of course, all of those that are being built right now are solar
Oh, yeah.
energy. Yeah.
Yes.
Of course they are. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Anyone else? No? Good. Good. Okay. Anyone wishing to speak on this item that has not filled out a slip? Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and may I entertain a motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that the Planning Commission adopt resolution, is it 2024-004?
That is correct.
Approving the extension of time 22-02.
Call for the vote?
Chair Guerrero,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Quill, Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chair Armstead, Commissioner Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Item is approved.
Thank you. Okay, item number 6. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 6 this evening, there we go, is a subdivision 22-07, that's for tentative parcel map 20632, and conditional use permit 22-14. The request this evening in front of you is for the development of the University Crossing Center. That would be comprised of 3 restaurants, all with drive-throughs, and a drive-through express car wash. The property in question is located at 4200 North University. This is just off of the 215 and University Parkway exit, just south of the State Street intersection, or State and Varsity. It's approximately 6.5 acres in size, and as part of the proposal, the subdivision would be to divide the property into 4 parcels, 1 for each of the proposed uses. And the property is currently zoned Commercial General 1, and there's no proposal to amend that. This is an aerial of the property. This is an older aerial. The building that was on the property has since been demolished. Unfortunately, the aerials are only as timely as they are. As mentioned, this is located immediately adjacent to the northbound on-ramp of the 215 there, the University Parkway crossing. And the intersection just to the upper right in the image is University, Varsity, and then State Street. The aerial of the property, or the zoning for the property, as mentioned, was commercial, primarily surrounded by other commercial development, just backing up to a multifamily apartment complex on the kind of northwest side. This property, as mentioned, it's 4 different users, the 3 of them being restaurants. The first for Pad A, which I'll show you on the site plan in just a moment, is intended for a Dutch Brothers coffee shop. You may be familiar with them. This would be the second in the city. We recently looked at one a few months back down on Hospitality. That's a smaller building, no inside area, so it's only about 1,000 square feet. Would have 13 parking spaces dedicated on their parcel and drive-through stacking for approximately 32 vehicles. The second pad, intended for Panera Bread, that's about a 3,600 square foot restaurant. That is just the building of the restaurant. It would also have additional patio space that's not included in that. That has parking for approximately 54 vehicles and a drive-through that would accommodate around 20 vehicles stacked. Pad C would be for a Chick-fil-A restaurant. That's about 4,700 square feet in size with the additional outdoor patio area and parking for just over 100 vehicles in total, and a drive-through, as you'll see on the site plan in a moment, that could accommodate somewhere around 60 to 70 vehicles stacked. And then the fourth property would be for the Express Car Wash. Mr. Car Wash is the brand. It's a 3,600 square foot building, about 130 foot long tunnel with 32 dedicated vacuum stalls. As access to the site would be from 2 frontages, as this does, while it doesn't sit directly on the corner, it does impact two streets. We would have one driveway located all the way at the northern extent of the property along University Parkway. This would be kind of the front of the site, so to speak. And that would be limited just to right in, right out, as there is a median that runs the length of University Parkway there. The second access point would be along Varsity. This would actually be two driveways, one that would lead kind of to the central drive aisle for the property, which I'll show you on the site plan, and one that would lead primarily to the Chick-fil-A and their proposed drive-through. As part of this also, there would be improvements made to the intersection at Varsity and University, primarily relating to striping for some additional stacking for turns, both north and south on University, and improvements to the signalization related to turning movements, just to give access for people leaving the site to be able to go north, as University is going to be restricted to southbound movements only. The existing property, as mentioned, the building that was there was fire damaged several months back and has since been demolished in anticipation of this project, but also just for safety concerns on the property. This is looking from University Parkway across the street. As you can see, the median that runs through the center line of the street that would restrict that turning movement. And then this is from the back corner of the site, kind of around the curve on Varsity where the second access would be, looking out kind of the freeway in front of you to the right, and then University Parkway across the site to the left. The site plan, this is turned a little bit from the way that the aerial is, but running here on the right-hand side, you have University Parkway. You have the driveway on the north end here, furthest from the intersection, and then that leads to kind of a central drive aisle that will run all the way down to the other access point along Varsity, and then that would grant access down to all of the four different tenants. But everything would be kind of directed through this main artery. As noted, you have the proposed Dutch Brothers in the front area here with their drive-through. It's comprised of three separate side-by-side lane queuing lanes. Further behind that is the car wash, and then the vacuum stalls, as noted, adjacent to that. In the center of the site is the proposed Panera. They have a dual drive-through, and then the Chick-fil-A to the rear, as mentioned, where they have kind of somewhat direct access just from the off-site to their drive-through. They have the larger drive-through for the 60 to 70 cars that is a triple lane to service the building. These are the proposed elevations. As with the Dutch, just as before, as with the previous project we looked at several months back. Same elevations, modern design, kind of a mix of materials. This is more of their prototype design that they've been implementing at all of their new properties in the area. These are conceptual for the Panera. This is kind of their newer design, and then as noted, you do have kind of a sizable outdoor patio area that would service the restaurant as well. The Chick-fil-A, this is their newer design that they've been doing at the last few properties they've developed in this area. And then the car wash itself that would be in that front corner. Proposed landscaping, as it's designed, said you have the central drive aisle and then all the separate parking areas for each building, spread throughout the site fairly well, so that we have, significant shading throughout the parking area and nice areas to congregate around all of the various businesses. Our recommendation this evening would be to adopt the mitigated negative declaration that would be that has been prepared for this project, along with the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. That would be in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, and subsequently approve the subdivision 2207 and conditional use permit for the project, subject to the findings of fact and conditions as been provided. One note I do want to make, in the resolution that was prepared and presented to you this evening, there was one typo that we do just want to have addressed on the record. That would be on page 3 of the resolution, the final item at the end of the whereas. Now, therefore, does reference the Development and Environmental Review Committee. That was an error on our part. That would be changed to reference the Planning Commission this evening. With that, I'm sorry, Mike, can you hand me that one page? No, the page. Apologize. One thing I do want to note as well, I believe all the commissioners do have in front of you comments that we did receive earlier today on this project. I just want to lightly touch on these. I know we do have speakers here that will address them as well. There were concerns that were addressed through the project regarding the number of parking spaces provided. The project as designed is overparked from current code requirements. This has been something that was deliberate on the part of the development, not a requirement from the city, but something that was considered based off of the needs of the tenants and the proposed uses. And as noted, not all of the parking, a significant portion of it, 32 of the stalls, are dedicated just for vacuum stations, so those are not accessible just to the general customers going to patronize the restaurants. Those are dedicated more as a service for that business. So those would be typically kind of excluded from that count, and that was not clarified in the staff report. Regarding kind of the gathering areas, the way that this property has been designed, it is a unified center, but it's comprised of the individual tenants. They have their own operating characteristics, typical schedules that may differ from each other, and the 3 restaurant uses that would be most prone to utilizing that space have all provided their own patio areas where people would be able to congregate, be able to sit outside and enjoy anything they may obtain from the business that would be maintained independent of each other by those respective businesses. I know one of the items we do touch on now regularly is the electric vehicle charging. That is something that has been discussed with the developer. It is not a requirement of the city, has been noted in the past, but it is something they're looking at, and I will allow them to expand upon that. And regarding kind of the unified branding for the center, as I noted at the top of the presentation, the developer has kind of designated this as the University Crossings. That is the name they're giving to the center, both to primarily to acknowledge the area that they're in. They are in the University District. They're going to be kind of one of the entry projects as you exit the freeway there to go to the school. And there has been a sign program that's been prepared for this project. It's not part of the proposal this evening, as it's not subject to either of the entitlement requests, but it has been designed to include monument signage both for the streets and the freeway that would give some level of cohesion to the center as far as their overall identity. With that, we do have the applicant and members of their team here, should you have any questions.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. We do have one public comment. And
We have an additional one. That one is
additional one as well? Okay.
Good evening, honorable members of the Planning Commission. My name is Erwin Busey. I'm the applicant on behalf of PCG South Shores. Just by way of background, I've been in the retail development business for about 32 years. We are also an emerging manager for Canyon Catalyst Fund, which is CalPERS. We do a lot of work with best-in-class tenants, such as Chick-fil-A, Dutch Brothers, Mr. Car Wash, and Panera. We have an excellent lineup at this location, and I'm very pleased to be here. I've been working on this project about a year. The one thing I wanted to mention, too, that this building actually burned down twice, and we actually demoed the building to make sure that we wouldn't have any nuisance issues. This property needs to be redeveloped with great tenants, and we do have great tenants. A couple things regarding the parking that was mentioned. We want to make sure that all the employees of each respective business parks on site and not on city streets and not impacting the neighborhood, but really, and that's why we have additional parking. The elevations and the project, I want to thank staff because from where we started to where we are, we have a lot better project and a great project. I look forward to your support and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Treasurer Ortiz.
Good evening. I'm in favor of this project, given the type of development. I think it's great. My only concern that no one's talking about is traffic. If you've ever, which most of us, I believe, have graduated from Cal State San Bernardino, trying to get to the freeway is insane. And that's what the current business is there. I don't see anything that's going to be able to mitigate the traffic off of University Parkway and get people on there. I see more congestion. It really creates this idea now, instead of it just being localized to the community and to the university students, it's becoming the get on and get off spot as well, until the travel center up off of Palm and Kendall is developed. Is there a way to add an additional lane or a designated route that won't tie up traffic getting onto the 210 or the 215, whatever that is up there, and being able to get in and out safely? Because otherwise everybody's going to be, if you're going to want to get onto the freeway, you're going to have to go back through that light. It's going to cause congestion to the apartment complexes. If not, you're going to be stuck having to go all the way up, flip around by the Arco over by Walmart. So it's a really congested area. I remember seeing a rendering of a new pathway into the university area. I don't know where that is, but I think we need to move on that. It's great and it's awesome to bring these type of people here, but we have to remember people still live here and function. So the Cal State area needs to be extremely functionable for the students as well as the visitors traveling. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item?
If I may, just very quickly,
Yes.
Just so we can respond directly to Ms. Ortiz's comment. There is, I apologize, I'm not a traffic engineer, so my explanation on this may be a little bit limited. There is a project currently in the works that's anticipated to begin, I believe, construction end of summer, later part of this year. It's actually to be improving the interchange there with University and the 215. This is something that's been in the works for about a decade or so, or getting near that. But, you know, as projects with Caltrans and other associations go, it has taken some time. From conversations with Public Works, this is a funded project that is going to be proceeding, and that's intended, without getting into the specific details, that's intended to alleviate a lot of the traffic congestion that's up there and allow the traffic to move more freely through that interchange. The project is being presented this evening, has been designed in consult with that, both with the city, SBCTA, and Caltrans. That was part of the reasoning for moving that driveway on University all the way to the far northern end, right up against the adjacent property, so that they can stay as far away from that improvement as possible, to not obstruct anything and to allow the movement to continue. So that should, you know, there will inevitably still be traffic, but that project, with or without this, will be posed to alleviate quite a bit of that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that information, Travis.
We have an additional speaker slip for Azar Khan.
Oh, yes, Mr. Khan.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Azar Khan. Staff today had already addressed a lot of my concerns, but I still wanted to be part of the public record. So the site is overparked, as was discussed. It looks like the development code requires a minimum of 119 parking spaces, and we're currently parked at 214. This is in excess of 95 parking spaces. My concerns here is this intersection is notorious for homelessness and transients, as well as trash and littering. As you all know, the more asphalt we have in our city, it creates a lot of water runoff issues. There's a lot of that. So the more landscaping that the developer can provide, especially where the parking isn't really needed, I think would be overall better for the water quality, as well as groundwater recharge, things like that. So oftentimes the shopping center by T-Mobile, it's notorious for homeless encampments and loitering and all that. So if we can remove the excess parking spaces and just turn it into landscaping, I think that would significantly improve this intersection. This corner, I think, is just overparked. It's unnecessary. Usually the development code requires parking enough for the patrons as well as the visitors and employees. So this whole discussion regarding providing ample parking spaces for employees, I don't think is necessary. So number one, I recommend the parking be reduced to somewhere closer around the required parking spaces of 119 for the development. That Travis had already addressed some of the concerns I had for about a central gathering space. So having an outdoor common space, I understand each of the pads are providing some of that, but something that's more communal, something that maybe has some astroturf or grass area would significantly improve this type of development. That would be really welcomed, as opposed to just seeing a sea of parking spaces. Travis already mentioned about EV charging stations. It'd be a nice welcome addition. This is a typical route from here to Vegas. A lot of those routes have supercharging for Teslas. It would be nice to see that incorporated as well. And lastly, some accent lightings or driveway gateway features, all of that Travis kind of addressed, but it'd be nice to see some entrance features that are modified, not your typical shopping center. And I do appreciate the landscape additions as well. So with that, those were my comments and recommendations. Hopefully, if there is any alterations, I didn't see any recommendations for the previous project. So if there are any recommendations that planning commissioners can consider, I would like to see it in the conditions of approval, because then that'll hold the project to account. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ready? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I like your thinking, Assad, but unfortunately, Travis has pretty much eliminated every single one. But isn't that what we're supposed to try to do, is community placement, community gathering for some of these sites? Look at the specific plan, look at the general plan. It's not just all about the downtown, but in other areas that have striving small downtowns as well. Instead of a sea of in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out in these commercial centers. So isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Some community placement, gatherings and so forth? I like the idea of an island, although you said, well, each one provides its own patio and is paying for their own upkeep and so forth. Fine, well then let them also pay for a center island with trees and grass and so forth. I like what you're thinking. I think it is what we're looking for in the long run.
Excuse me, I'll allow the developer to answer this maybe a little more fully, but I will just add one thing that does have to be considered with that. Certainly, it is a nice feature, and I will admit, I enjoy those elements when they're included in the appropriate types of projects. With this development, the way it's designed, it's not built around any kind of centralized area where you would typically have that type of hub. And the concern that would come up, and I think this may be
Maybe that was the problem to begin with. It wasn't designed for the centralized thing. But I'm just saying
it's a little,
that in the future, and I know staff is looking at the development and, and so forth, and won't be making any of those changes, keeping in mind what we have for the specific plan and for the general plan. We've said that people want community gatherings, places, and all of those things. So couldn't the planning, when they talk with the developer, insist or look at the possibility of those things?
Those are certainly things that we can look at, and as we move forward with the larger general plan update and the update to our code and the downtown plan, those are things that we'll factor in. One thing I just want to point out with this project, with any of these types of improvements, it's a balancing act with any of the standards in our code. And that's true for this project and any other project. And where we run into concern with a development of this type is you do have 4 auto-oriented businesses. You have to consider, access and circulation to those. So they do have to be designed in order to alleviate congestion, in order to alleviate backup onto the adjacent streets. As noted, we would never want to have that onto University. You do have to provide that amount of ample room between them. with that type of design, then you do run into concerns where if we created a space, somewhere centralized in the site, there's a good chance it's not right immediately next to any of the businesses. That does create other concerns, or can create other concerns about the visibility of that space, the maintenance of it, who's occupying that space, whether it's, people patronizing these establishments or otherwise. So those do get factored in, but it's something, unfortunately, it's not always every answer works equally.
I
We do have
realize-
to look at kind of a hierarchy of factors.
I realize what you said, that this project wasn't designed for that, and you were going to respond to it.
Well, two things I wanted to mention. A couple things I wanted to mention, thank you. We definitely are going to be adding NEV stalls and net electric vehicle stalls on the site. That we will coordinate with staff as well as the various end users. From a branding and standpoint, and from a merchandising standpoint, and from a guest experience standpoint, there's a reason why Chick-fil-A and Dutch Brothers want their community gathering places right outside their door, because they also get the benefit if somebody stops by and they want a cup of coffee, they can grab a cup of coffee if their friends show up, different things like that. From a maintenance standpoint, I also, it's important for them to maintain their brand and recognition, and that's why this was designed that way.
That's understandable that they would want to have their patios, and no one is saying that they shouldn't, but why couldn't they put in something a little bit more, whether it's in the entrance, around an island of trees and so forth? And nobody's eating there, but
Well, I mean, if you look at the landscape plan, we have just in that middle aisle right there between Panera and Chick-fil-A, there's a lot of landscaping on this property, and it's specifically designed to make sure that I always believe that landscaping and great entrances make great projects, and we have done that here. Thank you.
well, we have to begin somewhere, Travis, and not wait for the specific plan.
All right. And we appreciate the comment. Thank you.
Even with the specific plan, it still takes us to go ahead and think outside the box and to make it work.
That's noted. Thank you.
I like that idea too about having some open space, but I also see what the developer is seeing in the space between Chick-fil-A and the other place there. It's a large lot. Where my concern is, and it was addressed, is the traffic on University. And the only exit you have off of this property to speak of is flowing onto University. I would have thought, well, number one, there needs to be a direction there so that new people into our community use this facility. They need to know that's a right-hand turn only, number one. Number two, I think we should have set an easement or a setback of some sort so that cars, when they exit off onto University, they have an opportunity to stay in that lane to either get onto the freeway heading north or have a little more room to adjust to that traffic. So we're not giving any easement there, and I was just wondering, any traffic study gave any consideration to that based upon the fact we have such a large lot there, that we have room for that?
So two questions. The one, the driveway on University is just the one of the two access points. There is also the driveway towards kind of the northwest corner back here along Varsity.
Correct.
That would then provide access, more full movement access, not the turn restricted, that would take you upwards to the Varsity State and University intersection. That would then give people the option, going north or eastward. We do have the traffic engineer that did complete a study here this evening. He may be able to speak to this a little more technically than I can. But the offsite improvements, pretty much from the point of the driveway, of the extent of their driveway south towards the freeway, it does include lanes for those purposes. But those have already been designed as part of that larger interchange rebuild that I did allude to. Those are something that's fixed in plans that I said are pretty much ready for construction, later this year. So there wasn't really a place for the project to go in and modify that, but that was something that was reviewed both with our staff, the project or the traffic engineer for the project, and the other parties that are involved in the rebuilding of that interchange.
Well, thank you, Travis, but this is all going to be pretty much freeway-orientated businesses to bring cars off of the freeway, and then they will venture back onto the freeway. So if perhaps we directed the traffic or the cars exiting the parking lot more to that other street than University, it might be beneficial too. So
I think this would be an excellent place for our traffic engineer maybe to be able to chime in.
Okay, good evening. Dan Close, Associate Principal with Lynn Scott Law and Greenspan Engineers. So to kind of piggyback on what Travis was saying is, when we took a look at the driveway placement, first thing we worked with staff and also in conjunction with Caltrans was to try to locate that driveway off University, because you do want to have some sort of access off the main arterial, so you're not sending everybody to a lower traveled in terms of daily volume street. So when we went through that process, it was determined to try to push the access as furthest to the north on University, which would allow the project to not interfere with the Caltrans interchange project to the south. And our traffic study, we did look at level of service and queuing at all three driveways. The two driveways on Varsity operate at an acceptable level of service B during both the AM and PM peak hours. The driveway on University, that is expected to operate at level of service D during the AM and level of service E during the PM. Now, keep in mind that it's not uncommon for a driveway that's located on an arterial that has as much daily traffic as University to operate at a higher D or E level. That's typical for a right-in, right-out driveway on that type of arterial. And the other thing you have to keep in mind is this project, although there is a lot of traffic on University, this project generates a lot of pass-by trips, which means they're trips that are already on the existing street system that are going to pass by on their way to another destinations. For example, somebody going to the college would pass by the site and continue on way to their intended destination. So about half of the trips associated with this project are already on the street system now, what we consider pass-by trips. Sorry, that was a lot of information.
Yes, it is, and I appreciate that you have looked at that. It still sounds a little confusing to me, but I do know that University is very busy, and it's going to continue to get busier. And so if you make some accommodations to direct your traffic out of the northern driveway would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, and as patrons visit the site, they will orientate themselves to the best path of travel to exit the site. We don't expect that everybody's going to want to go off University, because some people would be more comfortable coming off on Varsity, making that right turn, and they can still make their way to University and make a right and go south towards the freeway.
Yeah.
So it will be a balancing act, and that's why the site's laid out as it is, with the Chick-fil-A at the furthest into the site, and obviously those patrons will use those two driveways more likely than the one on University.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll try to keep my comments brief, but long story short, I'm sort of disappointed in this project. As others have noted, it's just continuing the sea of parking on University, which is such a key corridor for students. And I would have loved to see some type of mixed-use development, something we've heard from staff and the general plan meetings. We just passed an active transportation plan, and all I'm hearing is vehicles, vehicles, vehicles. So yeah, this is a pretty disappointing project. I wouldn't want to support something like this. I would encourage you to look at the project just across from Cal State San Bernardino that included housing and condensed commercial development. There's pushback on trying to include some type of gathering space, which would make great sense to encourage folks to stay in San Bernardino and hang out in the area rather than just drive off with their unhealthy fried chicken. So, yeah, I would encourage my fellow commissioners to really push hard on such a key location that could really encourage a different lifestyle in the university district, particularly with so many youth. And there's pushback on design, and the placement of the car wash just is odd to me. And I don't understand the high demand for car washes. There's so many in the area already. And I'm not convinced with the traffic not being an issue. The 2 lanes turning south towards the 215 is always packed up. So I can't imagine during peak hour folks trying to turn right off of this project, trying to go south on the 215. It would just cause massive backup within the project, outside the project. I don't know, it just needs a total reimagination. And yeah, I just expected better.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. I actually like having additional parking because we're not going to be here a year from now having to approve additional parking like we have with another project that we just did 3 months ago. So the additional parking, and I get it, as far as the space to have greenery or anything like that, who's going to maintain it? We're going to factor in a safety issue, vehicles, and I most definitely appreciate having one of the restaurants here that will be within our city limits, and I don't have to go out to neighboring cities and purchase them there. So thank you very much. But I do have a question. Why another
Yes.
car wash? Because there's Bliss, like, just on the other lot.
I would actually look to the, I don't know if,
There's like
you wanna
another
join us?
car wash just on the neighboring site.
The proposed car wash is Mr. Car Wash, the largest car wash operator in the nation, publicly traded as well. They're a great operator, it's sustainable.
Sir, could you turn on your mic, please? Thank you.
Sorry about that. They're sustainable, they reuse their water. There's demand in the area. And they do a lot of market research in terms of making sure that the site makes sense for them economically. And this does. The one thing I want to mention about the traffic too, we prepared a mitigated neg deck in addition to a traffic impact analysis. That was circulated to Caltrans. We spent a lot of time working on that access point to make sure it's a right in, right out, and pushed as far north. That had to be approved by Caltrans. And Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, there was no comments in opposition of this project by Caltrans. And they actually shared with us their CAD drawings of their 90% set, which they have for the freeway interchange, which is significant. They've been working on this for 10 years. And this owner, it's been somewhat of a journey to get to this location today, not only for me, but for Caltrans. So this solves a number of issues in terms of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one comment.
Commissioner Armstead, we'll just continue. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Armstead.
Okay, I have a couple of observations and comments. Just for clarification, this property is the old Scottish Rights property, am I correct? For clarification for here and for the audience.
That is correct.
Okay. I drove around. Do you realize there are 4 car washes within a couple of miles? There is Bliss, which is right next door to the one you're proposing, Rocket Car Wash, Express Car Wash on Walmart, and one right across on Cajon Boulevard. Oh, and there's one on 30th. So my understanding is we are still in the middle of a drought, but we have water from another car wash, especially with a saturation. That's a comment. I don't need an answer yet.
Understood.
Comment.
Just listening.
Then, my next comment is this is, again, a drive-through for 3 more fast food. This entry is one of the major entries into the city of San Bernardino. And the best we can provide travelers, the best we can provide the college, the hundreds of homes going up, Little League, the development on University, the best we can offer is more fast food. We can't get a restaurant. I would, just like my companion here, I'd love to be able to just go around my neighborhood and go out for a meal with a cocktail. Denny's is great, but it doesn't quite fill that other need. And the best we can do is 3 more fast food that have backup traffic. I don't understand. I'm asking economic development planning, can we attract a real restaurant? We deserve it, especially since it is an entryway, a major entryway into the city. And that's the best we can do. We on the north side, we're on the north end, we're on the west side, and we don't have a really nice restaurant. Why? We deserve better. And I think we should get better, but definitely the car wash. That's a big question. Why do we need 4 car washes in such a close vicinity, and we're in the middle of a drought? I don't get it. That's my question number 1. My question number 2 is, I think we deserve better. Can we get a real restaurant? There you go.
You want to speak to the?
So to indirectly answer your question, as I mentioned at our last meeting, we were planning to do an economic development update at this meeting. Just given the very lengthy agenda, we decided to postpone that to next month. So one of the things we can talk about is some of our efforts underway to attract more restaurants to the city on a global level, on a macro level. So if you'll allow us, Commissioner, that is something we can definitely address at our economic development update next month.
And I would just add regarding your question about the car wash, as the developer did note, these types of facilities, you know, with the understanding that we are in a time when we're looking to conserve more water, these facilities do recycle, you know, either the majority or all of their water. I apologize, I'm not the expert on the specific details. They are more efficient, you know, than people just washing them, you know, in the apartment complex next door or at their house. That is the intention of them. So while they may utilize, you know, a high volume, it is repurposed. It is reused for multiple people. So the actual, you know, the actual consumption overall is much reduced from, you know, your typical either hand wash or washing at someone's private property. So there is the concern and the benefit for that. In regards to the drought conditions.
Good afternoon. I actually like this project, but I too have a real concern about the traffic situation. I haven't seen Caltrans propose changes to this area. So I'm going to ask you, if you're going northbound on University, you're not getting in there, right?
That's correct. The median that exists along University fronting this project, or fronting this property, excuse me, and the proposed driveway along University would still remain. There would be no left movement going in. It would only be for traffic heading south coming in and then heading south leaving the site.
So heading northbound, you would go all the way up to, what is that? Is that Varsity?
That's correct. Let me jump back to the. So yes, so if you were going northbound along University here, there is a median. You can kind of see it's a little sliver, it's hard to pick up, that would restrict anyone trying to turn in this way. You would have to go all the way north to this intersection. Whether you did try to make a U-turn at that intersection, if it was afforded to you, or turn left on Varsity to come in and enter it either of the two driveways at the rear of the site, and then recirculate through the property.
Right, and I mean, I thought I heard that you had saw the Caltrans design of this street, or your drawing was actually your layout is actually based on what Caltrans is proposing to do here in later in this year, or?
In regards to the access to the site, yes. Originally, when the project did come in, through the design review that staff completed with the applicant, the driveway was placed further south, more kind of centralized along the university frontage. As we did work with Caltrans and SBCTA and our own Public Works Department, it was elected to move it up here as part of that interchange, and we'll step into a big hornet's nest if I try to get too technical on it. There's a movement of the lanes down here where they're kind of reconfigured to keep the traffic flowing more quickly and eliminate, the stops that you have down here that lead to the backup. To avoid that was why, we worked directly with them and under their review to locate the driveway up here, with the understanding that for, customer, access to the site, for, emergency service uses, refuse, things of that sort, we still had to have the 2 points. But we did locate it in the position that was best suited to avoid conflict with any of the other improvements.
Mm-hmm. At that four-way intersection there, is there traffic signals? What do we have there?
Yes.
Or what's the
This intersection here,
Yes.
which is Varsity on this side, State as you go kind of east and north, and then University here, it is fully signalized. And as part of the mitigation that did come from the traffic study on this, there would be improvements recommended to provide a second left turn here. Currently, there's one left turn if you're coming down State to go south on University. Because, it is anticipated some traffic would be coming in this way, they would be doing a second left turn there within the existing right-of-way. There would be an extension of the left turn pocket here, to allow for additional queuing for traffic to go northbound, further up to the residential and to the university itself. And then there would be improvements to the signals here to provide those additional kind of dedicated turning movements, the protected turns, so that you're not having to, just gun it to cross on a green light. You actually do have the dedicated turn arrows for both of those movements.
So if we have dedicated turn arrows there, it's currently a 2-lane in each direction there, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it's 1 lane going each direction, I think. So 2 lanes in total, with the center median.
So if I want to make a left on Varsity, and there is traffic that is proceeding southbound, I'm going northbound, they're coming southbound, and I want to make a left, I'm going to hold up a line of traffic behind me to make that left?
No, they're along University here. There are already
University.
Existing turn pockets here accounting for that type of movement, where you're not sitting in through lanes of travel. They're turn pockets that extend somewhere approximately to this area.
Okay. Okay, I need to go see that. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll try to make it brief because it's gone on quite long. First of all, I want to thank staff and our applicant. I do think this is a great project. I appreciate the time you took to work on it. And I would have to say, I somewhat agree and disagree with my fellow commissioners. I think that, first of all, Panera, I think, is a great place to eat. They offer healthy options. You can, there are a lot of people that eat inside and outside. I know a lot of people stay there, they meet there. And and I think it's good. However, I do agree that there is some excess of parking spots. If my math is correct, there's like extra 53 spots, and I know that one of the issues is to bring a communal place. I understand that there's difficulties with that, but maybe we can meet halfway. If you go back to the conceptual landscaping, there's like that spot right in the center above pad B. I think that's about 16 or 15 spaces. Is there any way we can cut those spaces in half, put like a waterfall, not a waterfall, I'm sorry, like a fountain? I've seen at other places like a fountain and then there's seats like along the fountain. I mean, I don't know, that's something that we can, maybe you guys can add. I know that the Chick-fil-A Dutch Bro, most likely people drive through, I get that. But that might maybe draw some people to stay and reduce some of those parking spots. Just something to consider. But, you know, I do think that these are great, like, developers to make connections with for our city, as opposed to the liquor stores that we've been getting, gas stations. I think that this is a big step for our city. These are really big names, Chick-fil-A, Panera, Dutch Bros. Having these in our city is only going to bring, you know, other developers of that, you know, caliber. And I think that this is something that we should consider approving because it'll bring better things for the city. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I want this to be a great project. It's my reputation. It's what I do. I like having projects that are supported by the community. I will work with Panera to figure out a gathering space within that area. Everybody's sensitive about parking here, and they should be. It's freeway oriented. We've designed this on purpose. I think there's a solution that can be a win-win. I would like to work with staff on that after I have the chance to talk to Panera about it. I appreciate everybody's comments and thoughts. Thank you.
Real quick question on the parking. Has it been factored into any like longer parking for motorhomes or anything like that, since it's right off of the 215 freeway, 15 freeway, a lot of traffic to Vegas?
As the site in front of you this evening has been designed, there's no parking specifically designated for, you know, recreational vehicles or anything larger. It's
Oversized
It's intended
vehicles.
for passenger vehicles.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Oh,
I'd like to again state, I think we have a saturation of car washes. Have you gone by them? Do you see them full of customers? Because I don't, and I do go by them, and I live in that area. So that's a consideration, a concern. Another car wash, especially one right beside one less than 1,000 square feet, really doesn't make sense. That is my comment.
Keep that in mind in future projects.
okay. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? No more, Stephanie. Mr. Azar, did he? Oh, yes, Mr. Azar.
Just a quick follow-up. So, as a resident, I fully acknowledge what Commissioner Flores was discussing. Unfortunately, the economics don't really present itself for a viable mixed-use development. That was ultimate vision, at least during the workshops for a lot of us. What we have here is an auto-oriented development. So I would really appreciate, again, as a resident who drives by this, I would really hope to see some sort of public space accommodated, and like I said, reduction of the 94 parking spaces to accommodate something like that. As I mentioned in my comments, having a sea of parking spaces would be attracted to homelessness or RV parking. So removing some of those excess parking spaces for the betterment of the community, I'd really like to see that come in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and if I could have a motion, please.
Are we going to ask the developers then for a public place asset? Or is it as is?
I would make a motion to continue the item until we see the new design after the attempt of getting the public space.
I'll second that motion.
Will we do a show of hands for,
No, just a motion on the floor has been seconded. Unless there's another motion on the floor, you could call for the vote.
yes, he made the motion and then was second. Okay. So we'll call for the vote on that.
Okay, motion is to continue, motioned by Flores, seconded by Lewis. Chair Guerrero.
No.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Commissioner Quill. Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Vice Chair Armstead. Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
No.
We have 3 noes. The item still passes.
Thank you. Okay, going on to item number 7, staff report, please.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Item number 7 is subdivision 22-08, conditional use permit 22-12, and minor exception 22-04. The proposed project is to consolidate 7 parcels into 1 parcel under tentative parcel map 20628. This is to allow for the development of a self-storage facility comprised of 2 multi-story buildings containing a total of approximately 109,000 square feet. So they're approximately a little bit above 50,000 square feet each building. This is also a minor exception to allow for a 10% increase in building height from 30 feet to 33 feet. The project site is located at 1534 West Highland Avenue on a property comprised of 2.43 acres within the Commercial General CG1 zone. Here we have an aerial map of the existing site. As you can see, it's a pretty sizable site. It is surrounded by existing auto-related types of uses. We have the CHP, the sheriff's or CHP office, I believe, within that area as well, and we have other similar commercial types of development there. This is our commercial general zone. It is within the commercial general zone, which does allow for self-storage facilities. We do have some industrial light zone designations. These zone designations right here have the auto-related types of operations. Here's where we have the CHP office, I believe, there. In terms of the project analysis and the development of the project, as I mentioned, it is to consolidate the project from 7 parcels into 1 parcel. This will develop 2 buildings that will incorporate a more modern, contemporary design, and I will show you that in the next couple of slides. The interior design of it would be interior designs. One of the buildings will have the management office that is comprised of 900 square feet. There would be internally, individually partitioned self-storage units, approximately 800 units varying in different types of size for, the needs of the community and residential development that we're getting. This will also be accessed through interior pedestrian corridors, freight elevators as well for accessibility. There is going to be 2 points of access onto the site. There's going to be a primary access from West Highland Avenue. I'll show you in the next slide. There will be a secondary access from Cabrera Avenue. And this facility will be providing 17 parking spaces, which will include 2 accessible parking spaces and 4 loading spaces. For the minor exception on the building height, there are constraints that were taken into account to allow this additional 10%. There are existing 2 easements on the existing site. The first easement is an on-site sewer and water utility line that services abutting properties to the north and to the east of the project site. And then there is an existing on-site easement for an existing telecommunication facility. For that reason, instead of building one big mini storage, self-storage facility, they ended up having to divide the project site and go vertically higher. Within our commercial general zone, we allow for 30 feet at 2 stories. The 10% increase would allow an increase of 3 additional feet, which falls within the 10%. So it's 10% of 30, so that's 3 feet additional. The proposed, as I mentioned, 33 at 3 stories. The structure height essentially would be 30 feet at 2 stories or 30 feet at 3 stories. Either way does not change. So individually partitioned, it'll still be the same height, whether you do internal of 2 stories or 3 stories, still 30 feet in height. This additional 3 feet will allow for additional mechanical, electrical, and plumbing equipment to be screened, which is something that is required per our development code requirements. Here we have the property north of West Highland Avenue, looking at the existing site. As you can see, it is a pretty sizable lot. It's been relatively maintained. There is a lot of graffiti to that northern wall. With this site coming in, they are going to be doing a lot of improvements to the site and, rehabbing a lot of that existing, wall location. Here we have the proposed elevations. There's a lot of elevations, so I wanted to provide you some that provide some of the architectural renderings, how they're going to be placed on the site. They are going to be incorporating some vertical, horizontal breaks, additional architecture to kind of break the massing of the building, incorporate additional metal siding. In the exterior, the building is still going to have this appearance of like a 2-story building. So exteriorly, it's still going to have that kind of improvement. Here we have the existing site. As I mentioned, here we have Highland. So this is the primary access point. And then we have Cabrera as a secondary point of access. There is going to be proposed fencing that will secure the site. So, not anybody can just go in. You'll have to have access to be able to go in. Here we have the existing cell site facility, so they had to accommodate for accessibility to that existing site and maintain that. We have some utility easements, water utility services along this section. So they had to essentially create 2 buildings in order to accommodate those easements, which limited their capacity of being able to develop at the required, size and height requirements. Here we have a typical floor plan. So the first floor essentially is where we have your office area. There's, as I mentioned, the compartments inside are varying in size and width, depending on, needs for who needs 2 storage. We all like we all want to storage individual things, so it's going to meet those needs. And they do have existing elevators as well as stairs accessible to the site. Here we have a typical second floor, and the third floor is going to be in a similar fashion, typical of, self-storage, individually storage. This is something that is not new, but it is new to the city in terms of development-wise. For the proposed landscaping, they are going to have a lot of dense landscaping here on Cavera. They are going to be set back about 20 feet because, it's a big frontage. They're going to have 48 box trees, 24 box trees, 15 gallons, a lot of shrubbery. They're going to have existing catch basins for the existing site. So they are providing dense landscaping within the area, especially visible right here on Cavera and on Highland, because they have the catch basins. They're going to have to provide some landscaping, denser landscaping. They are a little bit limited in terms of being able to provide as much dense as here on Cavera because of the catch basins and the existing cell site, but they are trying to incorporate that as well. And with that, the recommendation by staff right now is that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2023-006, finding the project categorically exempt pursuant to Section 15332, infill development projects in accordance to CEQA, and approving subdivision 22-08, conditional use permit 22-12, and minor exception 22-04 based on findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. If you have any additional questions, we do have the development team here to answer any kind of questions that you may have.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for this item.
Madam Chairman, honorable members of the Planning Commission, my name is Brent McManigal, counsel with Fenimore for Safe Store. I'm here tonight with also the project design team, Philip Cochran with W&A Engineering, as well as Z Chow with Kimley Horn Engineering. Let's see. Again, this is Safe Store self-storage. They are going to be developing a modern 3-story self-storage facility here in town. It is all internal, as Elizabeth said. I just want to say thanks to staff. They've worked with us and the design team to bring to you a very modern project that complies with the city code and that we can all be proud of to help spur on development and redevelopment in this area of town. Something about Safe Store, it is one of the largest privately held companies that specializes in self-storage. They build these facilities all over the country. They have extensive experience in these types of projects. They have about 3.3 million square feet developed or being developed, with a pipeline of about 1.2 million square feet annually at this point. One of the things that they bring to their communities is they will reserve 4 units, and not just in San Bernardino, but this is one of their policies. They reserve 4 units, a minimum of a 10 by 10, for community groups. They'll partner with an organization or organizations in town to have them available on short notice for anybody in need. It could be, they could work with a police department, they could work with a battered women's shelter, anything like that. So if somebody's in a crisis, they need someplace to move their materials to and their home furnishings, they can do that here. So that's one of the benefits and that Self-Store likes to bring into the community, to be a member of the community. As we're saying, we're requesting the approval of the conditional use permit, the minor exception, based on some of the restrictions on the property, as well as a tentative parcel map to merge the parcels. Some of our security features, we have security cameras located around the buildings, and they are monitored 24/7. And then also the hours of operation. The office is open 7 days a week. We'll have staff on board. These are the typical hours of operation for the office. And then the access hours are 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Everyone has their own codes and can access their equipment there, and they put on their own locks on the doors. So with that, we're available to answer any questions. We thank you tonight, and we ask that you approve our project. We have reviewed the conditions of approval, and we'd accept those as well. We don't have any changes.
Thank you. Okay. And we do have public comments. Okay, thanks. Okay.
Commissioners, this is very disappointing, and again, I stand before you on behalf of the residents of Ward 6. As you could hear in the prior agenda item, all type of wonderful new developments coming that will actually benefit the community. There's a storage place that's already around the corner from this location. Also, a couple of 100 feet west, the city, you all approved, the council approved 94 single-family homes. They are going to want some of the very same things that are being put in other wards: places to eat, places to shop, places to spend time with your children, open spaces, not another storage unit that's going to be extended, right? Highland Avenue is a main ventricle through this city, and a lot of traffic is going there. And so how are we going to sell those 94 homes if everything around it looks like a warehouse? We have one right there off of Cabrera that was snuck in 2018. How are we going to sell those homes? I asked economic developer Nathan Freeman to make Ward 6, as we are putting these developments in here, like the 94 single-family homes, strategically plan and market this area so that it will draw what is needed to sell those homes. We don't want to build them and have them sitting. But just like you, every other new home buyer is looking for certain specific things that are going to be within their community that will help their family to prosper, that will be able to help their family decide, this is a location that I want to raise my children in, or retire in, or just come in and live for however long. But to drive out of the ward, do you know that Ward 6 is the only ward that does not have a Starbucks? Now Ward 5 is getting ready to get two, they already have 2 Starbucks, and now a Dutch Brothers. Where's the equity? Is it that the Economic Development Department isn't marketing as I've instructed, as I've asked? Because I don't feel that that is what's taking place here. The last franchise that came to Ward 6 was McDonald's, and I will remind you that it is one of the most, it has one of the most highest revenues McDonald's in the city. So to say that there then Ward 6 cannot support, I drive out of Ward 6 every single day to go buy a cup of coffee because I happen to like Starbucks. But these are the things that at our community meeting even last night, that the community was saying to me, when are we going to get a Starbucks? When are we going to get some of the same things that other wards are receiving?
Ms. Ortiz?
Everything you just said in item 6, I want you to consider for item 7. Please, I don't even know how this city, and it sucks, because I've sat in over half a dozen community development meetings for specific plans, for the upcoming general plan, for the 6th ward specifically. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody from community development or public works have ever been in these meetings. The ward and the people of this city have said they want rezoning from these light industrials to become either residential housing or commercial for food or whatever other than warehousing, and more just brick. And it's sad to see the city keep bringing these forward, knowing this is not the wish of the community, because the communities they live in don't look like this. And the expectation is so low that thank you, developers, for bringing us what you want to our community, because we're just going to take the handouts. We're going to put in a storage unit down the street from another storage unit, because that's all you deserve. Because right across the street is the Ingram Library. I didn't hear that mentioned. I didn't hear anybody talking about how the community has nowhere to go after the kids enjoy the library, that right down the street is Ingram Elementary, that there's a senior center on the corner, that the community hospital is right there, and there is no commercial development. There's nowhere for them to eat or drink or sit and enjoy. There is no, talk about a community space. Is a storage unit a community space? No. This absolutely needs to be rejected. It doesn't benefit our community to make it a stop and get off the freeway, eat and go, and here's another place for people to have the storage because we're not building enough housing. Here, you can store your stuff, but you can't stay here. It really speaks to who we are, and I 100% agree with Councilwoman Calvin. I appreciate her standing up for her community because it's wrong. It is wrong that the city brought this here. To me, it's almost on the verging of disrespectful that they believe the 6th Ward liquor stores, warehousing, storage facilities. You don't get a bank. You don't get anywhere to go shopping. You don't get anywhere to enjoy with your kids. You get to live in a concrete jungle designed to bring the profits for the developers. And I get they're here to make money, but how long will we be the expendable capital for other people to take money out of our city and build economically in theirs? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Okay. We'll go ahead. Commissioners?
I'm sorry. Can I see the zoning map again, where the zone is? Okay, this south part of Highland, it says commercial office, that's what that zone there?
Yeah, this is commercial office. That, I believe, is the current CHP office or, sorry about that. It's the current, I think, CHP office, currently right there. And then here along this length of Cabrera on the both sides, they're all existing auto-related services like auto repair shops, tinting, every type of personal type of auto-related services along this area. And then we have some vacant properties as well.
Okay, and all the red is commercial general?
Yes, correct. So this is commercial general here, and then this right here is industrial.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. For the comments and a question, why does the 6th Ward continue to be the dumping ground? The best you can get us is a storage unit. This site is just west of the Highway Patrol, right behind it. They want to see a storage unit, another storage unit behind them. You have a storage unit across the street. You have a storage unit at Highland and Macy. You have a storage unit on Highland by Popeyes. I think we deserve better. We can do better than another storage unit that looks like a giant warehouse. That's the best you're able to bring us. This is a major thoroughfare. This is an off-ramp to the city of San Bernardino. This is an off-ramp to the west side. And the best we can get here is another mini warehouse, because that's what it is. It's another mini warehouse, a storage unit, and that's the best we can get. And it's a major thoroughfare. That's Highland Avenue. We want to build that into something. As our council person said, we have homes coming in there. We deserve something better. Restaurant, shopping, and the best we can get is a storage unit. We're trying to develop this area. This is not development. This is another armpit project that you bring into the 6th Ward.
have no comment on.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
would you like to ask the applicant if he has any responses to any of the public comments given?
Yes, any? Thank you.
You know, I think our comment is we'd like to bring in a brand-new building to help spur on development into the area, and we appreciate your support for tonight. This is a piece of property that's been vacant for a number of years, and we believe that it will bring in additional development and new development that Ward 6 is looking for. Thank you.
Such a wonderful, wonderful project. Why aren't you looking off of Hospitality Lane? Why aren't you looking by Valencia? If it's such a great and wonderful project to uplift the neighborhood, uplift their neighborhoods.
Just for clarification, this project and the other previous project that was referred to as Ward 6, it's actually in Ward 1. But I like to see us as a full city and not just boundaries by our wards. So I like to see things as a betterment of our city. I like the idea of being a community partner and allowing those 4 to 10 units available to community organizations. I've never heard of that. I mean, this is something that may be new to self-storage. And yes, I do see we do have other storage units all throughout the city. But I do see this one as being a nice quality project. So thank you. Any further comments?
I have a question to the developer. One quick question. Do you have air-conditioned units?
Good evening, Philip Cochran, representing Safe Store. Yes, the facility is climate controlled.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
I do have another question. I know there will be 24/7 security or cameras. Will there be an on-site manager throughout the week, or what will those hours look like?
Very good question. I appreciate you asking. And yes, there are on-site managers. Their hours are usually 7 to about 5. And then there's card access to the storage facilities up until 10 o'clock p.m. There is a asset manager that has access to the cameras from a remote location. And then we have a local security team that does provide security for the building. In addition, we do partner with the local police in some locations to provide a substation internally if an officer needs a safe place to do reports, as well as partnering with local charities to help with battered women or the unhoused to provide a storage location for their property.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and may I have a motion, please?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2023-006, approving subdivision 2208, item 7 on the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Call for the vote?
Chair Guerrero,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
No.
Commissioner Quill,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
No.
Vice Chair Armstead, Commissioner Lewis,
No.
And Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 noes. The item fails.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, item number 8. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Chair Guerrero, distinguished commissioners. Nathan Freeman, your Community Housing and Economic Development Director. I am pinch hitting tonight for our city planner, Dave Murray, who unexpectedly had to go home with COVID. Forgive me, I am also trying to get over a cold, so if any time my voice cuts out, please bear with me. So item number 8 before you this evening is your consideration again of a city-initiated amendment to the Development Code to update the standards for temporary use permits, or TUPs. If you recall, to allow on-site crushing under very certain circumstances, which we have discussed, over the past 4 meetings. As you may recall, at the December 13th meeting, staff presented the Planning Commission with a revised amendment based on the collective feedback received from the previous 3 meetings, which included a workshop. At the conclusion of the meeting, the Planning Commission directed staff to make additional changes to the amendment and re-present the amendment on January 10th this evening. Specifically, the Planning Commission requested that staff revise the amendment to require Planning Commission review and approval for all temporary use permits, again, or TUPs, for on-site crushing. As you can see in your packet, the amendment now references this request. And if you have it before you, you can see in chapters 19.31 and sections B-4-A, on-site crushing is subject to a temporary use permit issued by the Planning Commission. So with this in mind, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2023-007, forwarding a recommendation to the mayor and city council, recommending approval of Development Code Amendment 22-06, amending chapter 19.31 and section 19070.035 to update the standards for temporary use permits. So with that, that concludes my very quick presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and we have one. Ms. Ortiz?
It's been a few hours since my first comment, so I want to be very clear. Please don't move anything forward unless you have every answer to every question that you have, that you know without a shadow of a doubt, when this is put into the municipal code, it cannot be walked around, stepped on, that no existing project is exempt from this change, that no discussion or elected official is able to circumvent what you're doing here. One thing I've learned in doing research is sometimes you have to write the whole paper to find out that something's not feasible. And you may write an incredible, wonderful development code. But if we can't guarantee the city to do their job, and I think Mr. Quill, you brought up such a great point, when you talk about people not being able to crush more than they need, so they can't sell it and make a profit. How do we guarantee the city will have the capacity and the people and the ethics to make sure that doesn't happen? How will we make sure that they have all the HIPAA filters in place? How will we guarantee, even with the code in place that you believe is 100%, that they're the other 100% that we need? And if you can't guarantee that, even after you've done all your homework, and I ask you to be as thorough as possible, take your time with this. There's a reason that this city clerk did what he did in that, or city attorney did what he did in that last meeting, to push you and count you. Never. If you don't go to court and feel like your city attorney isn't, or your attorney wouldn't help you out in a case, they're probably going to get you in jail. It's probably not the dude you want to trust. Probably not the guy that's actually on your side. Please be thorough. Be careful in your thought, because I've talked to some of you and you're just the most outstanding people who have your thoughts in your minds. Don't let the city rush you. The city has rushed through enough problems to get us where we are today. Bring up the Oxbow. Bring up the RFP for the downtown redevelopment. Answer your questions, please, I beg of you. And if it doesn't work, if it doesn't add up, kill it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I've spent quite a bit of time studying this, and I've looked at what has been rewritten by our attorney. And I see that you did cover pretty much all the issues we have talked about. But I do have a real problem. When I look around at surrounding cities, they don't even have an ordinance. They aren't even going here. Why are we approaching this, and why is this got to be, what planner feels as though this needs to be part of our city general plan? Why do we need this?
I'm sorry, just for my clarification, part of the general plan?
Or part of the development
The
code?
development code. So what we're proposing is an amendment to the development
I'm
code.
sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, again, apologize, I'm a little under the weather. What we're proposing is a development code amendment relative to temporary use permits.
Okay. Well, then I guess I need to ask my question differently. What sparked the initiative to bring this forward, to do this in our city?
So if you recall, our city planner showed you a map of a project that has specifically requested the ability to crush on site. The exact address is escaping me right now, but if you recall, there was a industrial building in the middle. So you had a vacant piece of property that wanted to crush on site. You had an industrial building in the middle, and then you had residential on the other side. So we have an active request from a developer to crush on site, which was what prompted this.
Okay, and if this developer probably would have gone to other cities, and I only say this because I have not seen this ordinance in other cities, how would they approach it this way? Would they write a development code to cover this issue? Is that probably what they would do?
That would be speculation on my part, so it'd be hard for me to answer that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any comments. Yeah, I guess at this point, I just don't understand why we need this. Yeah, that's where I am.
I have a couple of comments. As of this minute, if I'm correct, the city has no ordinance at all. It's just nothing. Am I correct?
So currently, the code does not allow for on-site crushing.
Okay. So I'm extremely concerned considering how the city has handled Oxbow. You say this is not Oxbow, but Oxbow is very important because we look at how the city handled that project. And I don't know how long it's been in progress, but it's been a few years, and it still hasn't been resolved. So how do we trust that the city can handle another or several other projects? Just my comment, I don't need yours yet. Can we clear, for the Oxbow, I would like a status update, maybe at the next meeting or something, but can we clear it up, clean it up for the residents and still pursue the contractor? Because the residents are still impacted by what's going on in Oxbow, and nothing's gone forward at Oxbow. We're waiting. We're waiting on what? It's going to happen to the next project too. Because of Oxbow, I just can't see how the city's going to be able to take care of another problem that comes up. How well will we be able to oversee future projects? Oxbow says we didn't, so we can have another project. And as the commissioner down there said, the other cities don't have it, so why are we pushing it? Why are we pushing somebody's hazardous waste on our site? There are companies that take care of it. Yes, it costs more, but as you know, when the when the contracts came up at the city council in December, except for the one contractor that got some inside information, the other ones put in the project costs, what it would take to take the dump off-site and crush it off-site. He was the only one that didn't. So that means the contractors know they have to factor it into their contracts. That's what it's saying. They already know that. And they were ready for that. And the city would have been ready to go forward with that in the project, because that's the way it comes forward. I've done some research on silicon. I don't know if you have, but I have. How do we mitigate that? That wasn't addressed. That's something else we have to think about, and that's a huge issue from the studies I just did. Has anybody looked at that? Has a contractor that wants to crush on site, have they addressed that? Because I looked at it, and that's a big concern too. Basically, I'm concerned about future projects. Just because I see Oxbow was one that opened up our eyes, we're not ready. We are not ready for on-site crushing. We don't have the city capacity. You don't have the manpower. We don't have the expertise. We're not ready for that in the city. And we sure don't need it downtown with all the building and housing we're going to build down there. Do we want another problem downtown? That's my concern. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, evening, night. Let me explain something to you. This issue of concrete crushing, there is definitely some literature out there and some proof out there that it can be done safely and all that wonderful stuff. The question here becomes, is it necessary? Even at the safest point, which would allow approximately 50 micrograms of this, I believe Commissioner Armstead mentioned crystalline silica. This is that, never mind that there's no asbestos, never mind that there's no lead. There is part of the biological makeup of concrete is crystalline silica. When that becomes airborne, it's deadly. It's not an instant death, but it dramatically affects the respiratory system. Basically, we have to trust that the companies that would come in here and do this are going to follow the guidelines to the letter. How do we arrive at the point where we know that? Because we got children, we got elderly people. Why not just take it away? What is, well, yeah, okay, I get it. It's going to save the developer a few dollars. Are we going to put a few dollars in front of our residents? After doing some fairly extensive research on the dangers of just the crystalline silica in the atmosphere, which it stays airborne approximately 2 hours, notwithstanding things like windy days, stuff like that. Of course, that extends that. So at this point, I really would like to get this this item put to rest. I'm sick of it. And if we don't get this put to rest, there's going to be a lot of more sick people. And it's just not, I understand that we're saving our roads, we're saving our highways, we're maybe even saving some cost, but at what expense? That's the question that we need to ask. So, and then with that, and I'll speak to that a little bit later as soon as we get this done, I just don't see the great benefit for our city in crushing concrete on site. There is no great benefit there. There's none for the residents. There's none for the community. So the more I look into this, the worse it gets for the prospect of grinding on site. We need to break that stuff up and just get rid of it. Take it to where they do the grinding. Take it to where it's processed. If it costs the builder a few more dollars to bring it back, so be it. I just don't see us putting our residents' health at risk. And this it's bad what it does to the lungs. It's bad. I've seen, it's bad. It's silent, you know, and however much money you think you're going to save, it is, you're going to pay it in the end. And you're going to pay with litigation lawsuits. It's going to happen. It's just, I'm not liking, I knew nothing about this prior to seeing this resolution. I had to dig in and see what's going on. And I was saddened to think that, you know, I'm hoping that you guys didn't know that, you know, everybody was jumping up and down. Well, it's not clean cement. It may have lead in it. It may have asbestos in it or some other chemical makeup or whatever. Never heard of crystalline silica until I started digging in and finding out. That's, in fact, the national industrial, let me see, I got it here. Oh, there they are. Got to keep them. The National Institute for Occupational Healthy and Safety and Health. They call the crystalline silica the new asbestos. That's what they're calling it. It's just as deadly, and if you can they do this safely? Yes, but it costs your contractor that came in with the lower bid. He ain't doing this right. He's not doing it right. If he can do it for less, it's cheaper to haul it away than to do it right. So I need you to consider that because I'm done with it. This is not good for our community. Thank you.
I just have a question because I thought last meeting that this was going to be forwarded to council. Is that still the case, or no, we would just approve it here?
It is still the case. Excuse me, Nathan. It is the case. So there's two options that you have. The first option, which is how the resolution is drafted, is recommending approval. The second option is you can recommend denial. And if the commission votes to recommend denial, then what we would do is staff would work up a resolution recommending denial because such a resolution is not currently drafted. We would bring that back at the next meeting and present it to you to make sure that we have captured all of the reasons that you think it should be denied. The findings have to be stated in the negative. It would say it's not consistent with the general plan. It would say it is not in the best interest of the public welfare. So we bring it back to make sure we've actually accurately captured why you're recommending to council to denial. If we need to make some edits to that resolution, bring it back to the next meeting. After that, we'll do that. Once you feel comfortable with it, then it will actually be forwarded to the mayor and city council, and it will ultimately be up to them. They could override you and approve it, or they can agree with you and deny it.
Okay, thank you. With that, I mean, I feel like how many meetings now have we, had this on our agenda, and we could have had other items, that would not that this won't benefit the city. I think everyone's confused about what this is, but, you know, we could have had something else that could maybe, you know, have gotten started and been more of a benefit. So I don't know. I personally just feel maybe it's best that it go to council. We deny and then it gets handled there, because I feel like, and no disrespect to staff, I know you guys work so hard on this, and I just feel like we're wasting time on what we're supposed to be doing here. So that's all my comments. And thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
It doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Yes, again, this has been on our agenda now 4 meetings, probably 3, 4 meetings, 4, 5. Thank you. Thank you, staff. And you want what's best for our city, what's best for our city residents. This, again, like Commissioner Quill said, other cities don't have it. Other cities, neighboring cities, it's for a reason. So thank you. Thank you, commissioners, for doing all your hard work and finding out more information as well, and staff too. Thank you. Any more comments? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing and call for a motion, please.
Yeah, I'll move that we deny this and let it do what it do from there. We deny the motion to approve it. I'm done with the crystalline.
I second.
Call for the vote, please.
Okay, motion is to deny. First is by Lewis, seconded by Flores. Chair Guerrero.
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
No. What do we, a no is what?
A no is opposing.
Is a what?
Is opposing. Albert?
A no would mean that you want to approve the code
Oh.
amendment.
No, I'm the opposite.
So you want to be yes?
Yes.
Okay.
To deny it.
Yes to deny, okay.
Okay. Commissioner Quill. Yes. Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Vice Chair Armstead.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Motion to deny is approved.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go on into our non-public hearing items. Planning Commission reports, announcements. We're still meeting. Planning Commission reports, announcements. Any? We'll make our way.
I have one quick announcement. There is a draft EIR meeting this Thursday on the airport gateway specific plan, which is a pretty major specific plan that seeks to industrialize the western side of the city, along with the city of Highland. So definitely encourage the public to show up and provide their comment. It's at the League of Women Voters, I believe, office in Highland at 6 p.m. this Thursday.
Thank you.
Yeah, real quick, I don't want to take up too much more of our time here. I'm getting hungry. I would like to make a motion, if I could, that we agendize the abatement of this concrete mountain, not only at Oxbow, but throughout our city. We need to stop doing this. If we're going to do some construction and we need to get rid of it, let's get rid of it. Now, with the with pulling back away from the concrete crushing, what are we waiting for? Let's clean this stuff up. It's bad for the city, and even sitting there, it's damaging our residents, and physically, it is doing damage when the wind blows. Thank God we've had all this rain. Silicone, crystalline silica doesn't move around when it's wet. It becomes too heavy, but it's going to dry up. It's been sitting there for years. We don't need to keep talking about it. We need to do something. We need to get it out of here so that prospective developers can come in and have a clean slate to start with and quit making our people sick. Because it is making people sick. They don't even know it yet. They don't even know it yet. I have proof. I got proof, hardcore proof. So let's get this stuff cleaned up. We can worry about litigate, we do whatever, next 10 years if you want. Let's get it out of our neighborhoods. So I want to make a motion that we agendize the abatement of these concrete stockpiles and have it, let's put it on our next, for February.
Unfortunately, Commissioner Lewis, you can't do it because you don't have the authority to abate. What I would recommend is that you speak with your respective council member and ask that person to bring such a motion to the council. They do have the authority.
So with that being said, would that then come back down to the Planning Commission for discussion, or?
No, it wouldn't. It doesn't require a code change or anything. It's a.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to get this, the city council on fire with this.
I recommend that you speak with your council person.
I shall. All right, thank you.
I have a question for you, or you. How can we get an update on the status of Oxbow or any other such similar project? Is that considered the abatement? We want a status update.
I think that would be for you, Nathan.
Can you clarify that for me? Or you're looking for a update? Really, there isn't any right now. So as I mentioned a couple meetings ago, there are no plans for Oxbow. I do know that the ownership changed hands recently, but that's about all I know. So if there's anything else you would like me to look into relative to the project, myself and staff can do some homework and give you an update if we find anything at the next meeting, if that's acceptable. We'd be happy to do that.
Do we have an update on Casa Ramona?
So the Casa Ramona project, the project did get a grant from the federal DTSC, I believe is the acronym. It's in the amount of about $4 million to clean up the property and to facilitate a affordable housing project on the site. I did speak to DTSC before I went on vacation a couple weeks ago for the holidays. They are looking to start cleanup in March of this year.
And will the $4 million cover all of the abatement there?
Yes, the $4 million would more than cover the abatement and will help for the planning portion of the future senior or affordable housing project.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a multi-phase grant. First phase, abatement. Second phase, any soil cleanup that has to be done. So when I say abatement, removing all the material that's on the location, any soil abatement that has to happen, and then phase 3, facilitating a future affordable housing project.
And we're going to see all of the material taken off?
Yeah, there's no plan to crush on site. All of the material will be removed.
Thank you.
I have a question. Speaking of abatement, doesn't code enforcement have the authority to abate abandoned buildings, abandoned signs, and
They do if they're a public nuisance, yes.
well, there's a lot of public nuisances around, but now we're being directed to go to our city council person to abate a project?
Which project are you referring to, sir?
Well, we had mentioned Oxbow, And the attorney there suggested that we talk to our council people.
Well, if you're curious about a specific project, or if you're wanting to report a code violation, you can do that through the Community Economic Development Department's website. It's very easy to do. Or you can notify me, and I could be happy to take care of that for you.
Okay, well, with that being said, there has been no abatement process or citation for Oxbow?
So I've only been here about 7 months, so from what I understand, there was a item before City Council, I don't recall how long ago, where there was a discussion about the city using its abatement fund to remove all of the material from the site and haul it off to Vulcan to be crushed, and that was denied by the City Council.
I'm sorry.
Again, I
think
apologize
that's-
if I messed that up.
Yeah,
I
you
apologize.
did.
It was before my time.
I believe what we had, if I could, I believe what we had was we had the city council that voted on it, and I believe they allocated $2 million to clean up Oxbow. Now, that was subsequently vetoed by our then mayor, and it just lay dead now. I'm all for getting this cleaned up. It's been there too long.
Your number sounds correct, sir.
Director report?
Yeah, so again, apologize. We made a corporate decision to move our economic development update to next month. Again, just considering our pretty packed agenda. Again, I would encourage the commissioners, if you would like updates on specific projects, please let myself and staff know ahead of time so that we can make sure to include those in our updates. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and adjourn the motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:21 PM. May I have a motion, please?
I motioned, he second.
Yeah, we're ready. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Happy New Year.